Chapter 1306. The Fox Emperor's eyes were filled with madness and brutality. There was also an icy coldness that made it seem as if he did not care about anyone. The Phoenix Emperor instantly came to a realization. He understood that although the Fox Emperor was still talking to him, this was just an instinctive behavior that he had developed over a long period of time as an emperor. In reality, the current Fox Emperor had completely lost his rationality. He needed to vent, and the way to vent was revenge. The first target of revenge was naturally the person directly involved in this matter, Elder Azure Dragon. Azure Dragon's long dragon tendon was extracted bit by bit, inch by inch. The Fox Emperor did not increase the strength of the dragon tendon extraction. The Fox Emperor's meaning was very clear. Azure Dragon had to pay the price. The heaviest price. Killing him with a single palm strike and destroying his soul was too light a punishment. Living a life worse than death was the Fox Emperor's revenge on Azure Dragon. And this was only the beginning. However, this was not the main point that the Phoenix Emperor was concerned about. Azure Dragon's death was destined. This was inevitable. However, would the Fox Emperor's target of revenge be limited to Azure Dragon? If it was not limited to just this, that would be the situation that the Phoenix Emperor would not be happy to see. The Phoenix Emperor flashed and appeared beside the Fox Empress. He lightly patted her with his palm, and an extremely pure demonic aura instantly healed the Fox Empress meridians that were about to collapse. Sister-in-law, how much of your soul did you manage to protect? This was the most important thing at the moment, or perhaps the only bargaining chip that could salvage some of the situation. Eeyore was struck by the soul-exterminating palm. A mouthful of blood seeped out from the corner of the Fox Empress' mouth. She closed her beautiful eyes, and tears streamed down her face. This happened too suddenly. Azure Dragon's attack was too fast and too ruthless. It happened right before my eyes. Even though I used all my strength, I only managed to preserve a sliver of a remnant of my soul. Elder Azure Dragon and the others asked from the sky above the palace. Considering the other party's identity and their position, the Fox Empress and the Crown Prince naturally had to come out to take a look since the Fox Emperor was not around. This was the Fox Palace, the place where the highest authority of the Fox clan was located. It was said to be the safest place in the entire Fox clan. The Fox Empress and the Crown Prince were also quite powerful. There were very few things in the world that could threaten such a combination. However, Azure Dragon and his group carried the Demon Emperor's Imperial token and entered the Fox clan's Imperial Palace safely and smoothly. The Fox Empress and the Crown Prince even showed up on their own accord to meet them. There weren't even a few high-level guards around them. Since they were the special envoys sent by the Demon Emperor, why would they harm them? However, the moment he came out, a soul-exterminating palm struck him. Then, a dragon and phoenix cage enveloped him. At that instant, the Fox Empress didn't even have time to react before she found herself in a perilous situation. Instead, it was the Fox Crown Prince who reacted quickly and sacrificed himself to protect his mother. Otherwise, the Fox Empress would have been the first to die. Then, everything would have been set in stone. Compared to the annihilation of her beloved son, the Fox Empress would rather be the one to die. She, who had suffered such a heavy blow, had shed all pretenses of cordiality and fought against the royal family's law enforcement team. "Give me the child." The Phoenix Emperor took a deep breath and said loudly, "Brother Fox, let's not talk about anything else first. I'll think of a way to save the child's life first. This is the bond between us brothers. As for you taking your revenge in the future, I won't say a word." The Fox Emperor suddenly turned his head to look at the Phoenix Emperor. His originally cold eyes flashed with a hint of surprise and doubt. The current Fox Emperor was just as the Phoenix Emperor had thought. His mind was already at an extreme. There was nothing in this world that could be shaken by words. However, the Phoenix Emperor had targeted the only exception. If the Fox Crown Prince still had a chance to return to life, then there would be a chance to turn things around. In reality, this was the main reason why the Fox Emperor was at the edge of extreme insanity. He had no way to save his son's life. If even he couldn't do it, then it could be said that it was almost irreversible in this world. However, the Phoenix Emperor's shocking words had shaken the Fox Emperor's remaining bit of rationality. That's right, the Fox Emperor only had that sliver of rationality left. The Phoenix Emperor didn't hesitate. He took a deep breath and suddenly opened his arms. Circles after circles of black flames appeared from his body. The balls of black flames covered a radius of 1,000 miles in an instant. Then they slowly retracted. This is the soul-searching heavenly fire. The Fox Emperor's eyes flashed again. He quickly regained his rationality. The Fox Empress clenched her fists tightly. She looked at the Phoenix Emperor, who was using all his strength to cast a spell, with great anticipation. Will it work? The Fox Empress raised her head and looked at her husband helplessly. This is the soul-searching heavenly fire. Even if the target's soul has completely dissipated, as long as we seal the area where the target's soul dissipated, we will be able to retrieve it to the greatest extent. However, my son's situation isn't just a simple dissipation of his soul. We might still need the Phoenix Emperor's nirvana flames. Even if it works, the Phoenix Emperor might have to pay the price of dropping a cultivation level. Dropping a cultivation level. The Fox Empress' eyes were filled with shock. She understood what the Fox Emperor meant. The Fox Emperor's expression slowly calmed down. However, the look in his eyes became more and more unpredictable. He understood what the Phoenix Emperor meant by doing this. Even if the Phoenix Emperor said that he could do whatever he wanted after reviving his son, and would not stop him. However, if he could do whatever he wanted, why would the Phoenix Emperor do this? The reason behind this matter was actually very simple. How could the Fox Emperor not know about the grudge between him and the Azure Dragon Elder in the past? There was a 90% chance that the Azure Dragon Elder was using his power to avenge a personal grudge. He wanted to make use of this opportunity to wipe out the Fox clan in one fell swoop. The Azure Dragon Elder had attacked right from the start because he knew that it was impossible for him to take revenge on the Fox clan alone. However, he hoped to make use of this opportunity to turn the situation into an irreversible situation. He wanted to force the Fox clan to become enemies with the entire Fox clan. The great lords of the Royal Law Enforcement Team would definitely be defeated when facing the entire Fox clan. However, as long as one or two of them returned, the Fox clan would definitely rebel. As the leader of the Royal Law Enforcement Team, he had the greatest chance of escaping alive. As long as his plan succeeded, the Fox Emperor, who had lost his beloved son and was in a state of extreme rage, would encounter the hot-tempered demon sovereign. With these two factors added together, it would be hard to avoid the annihilation of the entire Fox clan. If everything went smoothly, he might even be able to reap the benefits of the third party. Both the Fox Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor could see this plan clearly. However, even if they could see it clearly, the Fox Emperor could no longer stop now with such hatred present. The Phoenix Emperor did not mention any reason or consequences when he came here. He did not even mention the reason for the law enforcement team's arrival. The first thing he wanted to do was to save the Fox clan's crown prince. He did not hesitate to lend a helping hand and showed the greatest amount of goodwill. This was where the Phoenix Emperor was brilliant. If there was even the slightest bit of delay, the demon clan's great calamity would be unavoidable. At this point, the other 7 great lords of the law enforcement team all secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Cultivators who could cultivate to the great lord level were not fools. Elder Azure Dragon's actions were very abnormal. After the Dragon Phoenix cage was cast, he immediately pressed down with his palm. This was something that everyone had seen. However, they did not expect that it would result in such a serious outcome. However, during the battle later on, Elder Azure Dragon's every move was a killer move, and he pushed himself to his limits. These great lords were not fools. How could they not see it? Before they left, the demon sovereign had never said anything like killing without mercy. Therefore, everyone had held back. They did not truly fight with their lives on the line. After all, their opponents were fellow demon clan members. Otherwise, the Fox clan's casualties today would have been astronomical. It would not have been so few. After knowing that the Fox clan's crown prince had died in the initial attack, how could they not understand? It was clearly Elder Azure Dragon's personal actions that caused the situation to go completely out of control. However, the 7 great lords were filled with confusion. They had never heard of any deep hatred between Elder Azure Dragon and the Fox Emperor. Why was it that Elder Azure Dragon's actions were to push the Fox clan into a dead end? He did not care about the bigger picture at all. Now that the plan that had lasted for hundreds of thousands of years had been destroyed, he actually wanted to use this opportunity to frame the Fox Emperor? This was too reckless, wasn't it? And from the looks of it, he did not even care about his own life. It was obvious that as long as this plan was successful, even if Elder Azure Dragon had to sacrifice his own life, he would not hesitate. What kind of hatred was this? Previously, they had never heard of it. Furthermore, according to Elder Azure Dragon's arrangements, even if he himself had a chance of survival, the other 7 great lords would not be able to survive. Even if the Fox Emperor did not arrive, just the Fox clan's experts led by the Fox Empress would be enough to heavily injure them. After all, the Fox clan's killing intent had already been formed. It would be difficult for them to turn back. The luckiest outcome would be that 1 or 2 great lords could escape with severe injuries. Under everyone's expectant gaze, the soul-searching heavenly fire approached from afar. The Fox Emperor, the Fox Empress, and the Phoenix Emperor's expressions became more and more solemn. They became more and more nervous and cautious. After a long time, a gray substance was surrounded by the soul-searching heavenly fire and returned to the Phoenix Emperor's hand. The Phoenix Emperor melted the Crown Prince's remnant soul into the gray fog and observed it carefully. Then, he exhaled lightly and said, "The soul-exterminating hand is indeed domineering." His divine spirit power was completely dispersed. "Luckily I came early." The Fox Emperor took a deep breath and asked, "Brother Phoenix, how is it?" The Phoenix Emperor said, "It's a little troublesome, but I hope it's still possible." "How confident are you?" the Fox Emperor asked. This time, the Phoenix Emperor did not reply immediately. Instead, after a period of deep consideration, he replied cautiously, "I have 40% confidence." 40%? The Fox Empress' eyes lit up. The success rate that the Phoenix Emperor had mentioned greatly exceeded the Fox Empress' expectations. It was close to a success rate of 50%. As a mother, how could she not be overjoyed? Originally, she did not even have a shred of hope. However, the Fox Emperor noticed the Phoenix Emperor's hesitation and cautiousness. He said, "Brother Phoenix, are there any difficulties?" "There's nothing difficult. It's just that the Demon Emperor and I need to work together at the same time. I will circulate the Nirvana flames, and the Demon Emperor will execute the Dragon Soul secret technique. Then, we will use our Spring of Life to reconstruct Yuer's physical body. Then, we will use the Supreme Grade Demon Soul Jade Marrow as the blood, and the essence of the Land Fairy bloodline as the bones." The Fox Emperor's expression darkened at once, and the Fox Empress looked dejected as well. Her previous joy was gone. The Nirvana flames and the Dragon Soul secret technique only required the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor to unleash their full power, which would damage their cultivation base. The Spring of Life was not rare either, but the Supreme Grade Demon Soul Jade Marrow and the essence of the Land Fairy bloodline were extremely rare items. Even the Fox Emperor's personal storage did not have such treasures. If we could get our hands on the Bound of Universe's ethereal amethyst, we could increase the success rate to 80%. The Fox Emperor was surprised. Ethereal amethyst? How could this item have such a miraculous effect that greatly increases the success rate? Even if it's an extraordinary item that's exceptionally rare and priceless, it's not like it's impossible to get your hands on it. I have a dozen pieces in my personal storage. The Phoenix Emperor sighed. A dozen pieces isn't enough. To save Yuer, we'll need at least 200 pieces of ethereal amethyst. Every piece of bone must correspond to at least 1 ethereal amethyst. You have a dozen pieces here, but I don't even have a single piece of ethereal amethyst. I don't think the Dragon Emperor has many either. No matter what, Brother Phoenix, you must help me. I'll try my best to get as many ethereal amethysts as I can, the Fox Emperor said solemnly. Of course. The Phoenix Emperor chuckled bitterly. I'd rather give up my cultivation base than let Brother Fox's legacy end. I must save yours life. The Fox Emperor breathed a sigh of relief, and then said darkly, But today's matter. The Phoenix Emperor smiled. Brother Fox, you can deal with it yourself. I'm just a bystander today. However, there's another matter that requires Brother Fox's attention. The Azure Dragon may have committed a grave sin, but the other brothers don't understand the whole story, especially since they probably didn't kill in the previous battle. Otherwise, the Fox clan's losses wouldn't be limited to this. The Fox Emperor said coldly, I understand that. I'll only seek revenge from the Azure Dragon, but for the 7 of them, I'll still argue with His Majesty the Demon King. The Phoenix Emperor breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. That's good. Hearing the Fox Emperor mention His Majesty the Demon King, the Phoenix Emperor was relieved. The few demon lords of the enforcement team breathed a sigh of relief as well, and hurriedly stood aside. At this moment, the culprit, Elder Azure Dragon, who was the instigator of this battle, was already in a terrible state. His massive body had shrunk to only a few dozen feet in size, like a small green snake, coiled weakly in the Fox Emperor's hand. He was on the brink of death, but he would still hiss hoarsely from time to time. It was obvious that the excruciating pain was still coursing through his body. On the Fox Emperor's shoulder, there was an additional bright dragon tendon, dripping with glowing golden blood. During this period of time, the Fox Emperor had finally extracted Elder Azure Dragon's dragon tendon. The faces of the 7 enforcers were pale, especially the 3 enforcers of the Dragon Clan. They felt the same fear as the Azure Dragon Clan. However, the Phoenix Emperor acted as if he didn't see it, and he was still talking cheerfully. Now that something like this had happened, even if the Fox Emperor would let this Elder Azure Dragon off, the Phoenix Emperor would definitely not let him off. At this moment of life and death, he actually wanted to incite a war between the 2 clans because of his own selfishness, and almost forced the Fox Emperor, one of the 12 sovereigns, to rebel. Just this one crime alone would cause Elder Azure Dragon to be sentenced to death by the Phoenix Emperor. His crime was unpardonable, and there was no possibility of forgiveness. At this point, there are 2 paths to take. Think about it. Chapter 1307. Poof. The Fox Emperor threw the dying Elder Azure Dragon onto the ground. Elder Azure Dragon struggled to move his body like a little green snake. He raised his head and glared at the Fox Emperor. Azure Dragon, it's been more than 100,000 years. Your evil intentions have not changed at all. You finally succeeded today. The Fox Emperor looked coldly at Elder Azure Dragon on the ground and said, You're already at death's door. On account of our old friendship, I'll make an exception and let you say a few last words. I can't just let you die like this. Whatever you want to say, just say it. But don't take any chances. Even if the Demon Emperor himself comes here today, you won't be able to escape death. Elder Azure Dragon broke free from his shackles and used his vital energy to recover. His vital energy gradually returned to his body. The next moment, the light and shadow changed and turned into a weary old man in green. He still glared at the Fox Emperor and said through gritted teeth, Say a few words? Say what? Nine-tailed white. You treacherous little demon. The Fox Emperor said indifferently, If you won't say it, I will. The Phoenix Emperor stopped him. Brother Fox. When the Fox Emperor put down Azure Dragon, he knew that the Fox Emperor was probably going to tell the world about the past. But now he still stopped him. Once the grudges of important figures were made public, it would probably cause a tsunami in the entire demon race. It's fine. The Fox Emperor's facial muscles twitched. He said indifferently, Let him die a quick death. I can kill to my heart's content too. Not only do I want to kill him, I want to kill all his direct descendants of the Azure Dragon tribe. I also want to kill all the bastards and lovers he left behind outside. Azure Dragon laughed maniacally. Nine-tailed white. If you can do it, then go ahead and kill. Since I'm destined to die today, then I don't care what happens after I die. Even if you destroy the entire Demon Emperor's realm, I'll only smile in the underworld and not frown. The Fox Emperor's indifferent voice instantly spread throughout the sky. It could be heard far and near, as if it was right in front of them. Today, I have spoken of the past not because I want this old loach to live a little longer, nor is there any bullsh asterisk T appreciation. Instead, it is because today my fox clan has suffered such a great calamity for no reason. This emperor needs to give an explanation to the billions of Fox Clan citizens. When I was young, I was of the same generation as this azure dragon. Back then, as the prince of the Fox Clan, I had to travel the demon peacock emperor's realm to gain experience and train myself. He, the azure dragon, was also a direct descendant of the azure dragon clan. He also traveled the lands, and we met by chance. At that time, the azure dragon liked a female demon. That female demon was a compatriot of our Fox Clan's nine-tailed clan. Moreover, she was the daughter of an elder of the nine-tailed clan. Moreover, she was already married, a married woman. The azure dragon completely ignored the other party and pestered her day and night. Even though the other party did not respond to him, the azure dragon still refused to give up. In the end, the azure dragon actually secretly killed the banshee's husband and ravaged the banshee to her heart's content. After that, the banshee committed suicide out of humiliation. When I found out about this, I went to find the azure dragon to settle the score. When he said this, some of the elders of the Fox clan suddenly came to a realization. So the inexplicable disappearance of the Fox Emperor's cousin and her cousin-in-law was actually caused by this azure dragon before them. At that time, there was a great battle. I broke both of the azure dragon's legs and even chopped off half of his head. Just as I was about to take his life, he was saved by the elites of the azure dragon clan. From then on, a deep grudge was formed between us. The emperor of the azure dragon clan personally came out to negotiate, and the azure dragon concubine of the demon peacock emperor's palace came out to mediate. At that time, I was weak and helpless, so I temporarily stopped. After that, this emperor and my fiancé traveled the pugilistic world. And you actually took a fancy to my fiancé. When we fought again, you joined forces with more than 30 elites of the azure dragon clan to besiege this emperor. My wife and I were truly hunted down by you for 30 years. As the saying goes, the dragon clan will definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. This emperor can be considered to be a demon that knows best. At this point, the Fox Emperor turned to look at the Fox Empress. The Fox Empress quietly reached out her small hand and grabbed the Fox Emperor's right hand tightly. Tears welled up in her eyes. You raped and killed the Phoenix clan's fairy Rainbow Phoenix. You were hunted down by me, and I cut off your young root. You were unable to do evil for 9,000 years. After that, you became a saint venerable and regrown your limbs. You reverted back to your old ways and brought disaster to the demons. The Fox Emperor recounted all the incidents one by one. The elites at the side were dazzled by his words, and they stared blankly at him. Could it be that these two fellows were born to be enemies? They had been at each other's throats since they were young, and it was a love-hate relationship. From what the Fox Emperor had said, the azure dragon had been beaten half to death by the Fox Emperor more than 100 times. He had even lost his thing, but he still did not change his lecherous nature. On the other hand, the Fox Emperor had been hunted down by the azure dragon clan no less than 20 times, and he had narrowly escaped death countless times. This was definitely a natural enemy. Though your 119 sons, and your 40 and 50 concubines, have all died by my hand on my side. The Fox Emperor spoke clearly, and he recounted the evil deeds of the azure dragon. Everyone, including the billions of foxes below, had their mouths wide open. Although it was common knowledge that dragons were lustful by nature, this azure dragon was a little too lustful. It could be said that he was so hungry that he could not be choosy, and all the demons could do it. So many things had happened, but not a single one of them had nothing to do with the female demons. And it was all related to the various races, with no exceptions. If he had resorted to such methods to win the hearts of beauties, it wouldn't be a big deal. But look at what Elder Qing Long of the Yao family had done. He was despicable and despicable, using whatever methods he could think of. Rape, drugging, kidnapping, threatening, coercing. He had resorted to every conceivable means possible. Elder Azure Dragon coughed and laughed. Are you done? Is there any falsehood in what I have said? The Fox Emperor's gaze was cold. No. The Azure Dragon raised his head and said, I am a dragon, and that is my nature. So what if I have done it? You, the nine-tailed white fox, killed my entire family back then, and that is the source of my hatred today. Have you forgotten? I'm not afraid to tell you that the woman that I like the most in my life is your wife. What right do you have to win her heart? She even gave birth to a son for you. What right do you have to have what I can't have? Elder Azure Dragon laughed. Nine-tailed white fox, with the Phoenix Emperor's intervention this time. You should count yourself lucky that I didn't kill you. He raised his head and laughed. But do you think that the Phoenix Emperor can save your son from Soul Slayer? Dream on. Your son is destined to die, and he will die a horrible death, with his body and soul destroyed. I will make sure that you two coquettish foxes will never be able to let go of this for the rest of your lives. The Fox Emperor panted, his gaze cold and sharp. He said lightly, I just want to ask you one thing. All these years, when I became the Fox Emperor, I broke all your bones because of your troublemaking. There has been no movement for too many years. Why did you suddenly make a move this time? Azure Dragon scoffed, his eyes filled with hatred. You want to know? Speak. I want to say, there was a power outage last night. Would you believe me? Facebomb. GT. Chapter 1308. If you don't say it, I won't have the chance to say it. Azure Dragon laughed hoarsely. Because ever since you became the Fox Emperor, I no longer have the chance, or rather, the chance is getting slimmer and slimmer. You are getting more and more powerful. But the highest I can climb is only to become a demon elder. I no longer have the chance to deal with you. Azure Dragon roared. This is my last chance. If I don't kill you this time, I won't have the chance even if I live for another 100,000 years. Nine-tailed white, are you satisfied with the gift I gave you this time? Ha ha ha. No chance. It's because there's no chance, the Fox Emperor murmured. Suddenly, he let out a long roar, and his figure turned into an afterimage as he flew down. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, Elder Azure Dragon's howl shook the heavens and earth. Today, I will settle all the scores that have been accumulated for more than 100,000 years. Let's write them off. The Fox Emperor pulled out 4 of Azure Dragon's dragon tendons. Then his palm shone with golden light again, and he slammed it down. Azure Dragon, don't worry, it won't be long before your entire family, young and old, will accompany you to the underworld and be doomed eternally. With a boom, the huge Azure Dragon's body turned into ashes. At this moment, a Azure Dragon shadow suddenly appeared in midair and was about to escape, but the Fox Emperor was already waiting in front of him. He grabbed the shadow in his hand and squeezed hard, and it exploded with a bang. In the sky, a colorful mist rose. The spiritual chi in the entire area where the Fox clan was suddenly more than doubled. This was the overflowing spiritual chi from the fallen great sage to the mainland. From the beginning to the end, whether it was the other 7 great sages of the law enforcement team, or the Phoenix Emperor, they did not do anything and did not make a sound. As the Fox Emperor waved his hand, countless golden lights suddenly filled the sky. The Fox Emperor Palace, which had already collapsed on the ground, suddenly rose from the ground and reassembled itself in the sky. When it landed again, the glorious Fox Emperor Palace had already been restored to its original appearance. Heal your wounds first, the Fox Emperor instructed. Something big must have happened. Otherwise, this would not have happened. Prepare for battle. Brother Phoenix, please. Everyone, please. The Fox Emperor took a deep breath. Now tell me what has happened. What has caused the Imperial Law Enforcement Squad and Brother Feng to come here personally? Indeed, up until now, the Fox clan still did not know what had happened today. The Phoenix Emperor sighed. Brother Fox, the trouble you've caused this time is really not small. The Fox Emperor was taken aback. I caused this? Not small. The Phoenix Monarch rolled her eyes. A single token of yours has already turned the entire Demon Peacock realm upside down. Brother Fox, the most powerful token in the history of the Demon Emperor calendar belongs to none other than the Fox Emperor token. This is something that Brother admires greatly. The Fox Emperor raised his hand and said, Hold it right there, Brother Phoenix. You have to explain this matter clearly. I don't understand. Are you jealous or praising me? Praise. The Phoenix Emperor was speechless. Wait until I'm done. If you still think it's a compliment, then I'll have to hand it to you. Umph. I was just about to listen. The Fox Emperor snorted coldly. I, the Fox Emperor, have always been upright and upright. I have never done anything shameful in my life. Even if you slander me, it will not be able to do anything to me. As she spoke, she crossed her legs and looked at the Phoenix Emperor from the corner of her eyes. She was slightly displeased. The Azure Dragon came to frame me, so he is my enemy. But you, the Phoenix Emperor, actually want to frame me? In your dreams. What? The Crown Prince of the Fox clan destroyed many underground prisons? Damaged the soul-devouring tree? The spirit-devouring formation will not be able to recover for at least 1,000 years. That is the truth. The Fox Emperor's eyes widened. The Fox Empress also looked at the Phoenix Emperor with a dumbfounded expression. Are you sure you're not joking? I clearly heard and understood every word. But why didn't I understand this so-called truth? Furthermore, the Crane Emperor, the Eagle Emperor, and the Rock Emperor were all tricked? The other party has many rare superior grade treasures, and they are the key spirit herbs that are extinct or already lost. So many great sage emperors have been tricked by a saint? The Fox Emperor and his wife were still dumbfounded. I understand what you're saying, but how can there be such an existence? He actually has the means to get the key spirit herbs that are so rare that they are almost lost, or even extinct, and several races have them. Is this really not a joke? Our Fox clan actually has such a remarkable person? The Eagle Emperor, the Rock Emperor. Are they all from the Pig clan? Most importantly, that Fox Demon has my Fox Emperor's token on her? That's why she pointed the finger at me. The Dragon Emperor's suspicions are not baseless. The Fox Emperor's eyes almost popped out. He looked at the Phoenix Emperor as if he wanted to eat him up. Brother Phoenix, this matter. It's fine if others have doubts, but today you. He looked at his son's body, which was still in the Phoenix Emperor's arms, and was being nourished by the Nirvana demonic aura. His lips were trembling. How is this possible? My son has already been beaten to death. How can there be a second crown prince? The Phoenix Emperor smiled. Naturally, I don't believe it. Before I came, including when I met the Dragon Emperor, I stood on your side. It's still the same even now. But please think carefully, Brother Fox. Your token. Have you given it to anyone before? In this incident, anything can have a reason, or an accident that exceeds common sense. Only the Fox Emperor's imprint cannot be faked. The Fox Emperor shook his head firmly. How can I give my token to an unrelated Fox clan? That's impossible. The Phoenix Emperor smiled. I didn't say you gave it to a fox demon. In fact, I suspect that the main character of this incident is a human. Are you sure you didn't give your token to anyone? A human? Of course, it's even more impossible. The Fox Emperor hadn't finished his sentence when he suddenly froze as if he had been electrocuted. A figure flashed past his mind like a fleeting shadow. The Fox Emperor's mouth fell open. His expression was blank, and he was stunned on the spot. Seeing him like this, the Phoenix Emperor came to a realization. His expression tensed up, and he asked urgently, You really gave it to someone? The Fox Emperor's mouth fell open. He turned his head slowly and looked at the Phoenix Emperor. The expression on his face was extremely interesting. For a moment, his entire mind was a mess. Even his eyes were a little dazzled. I only drank a few jars of wine. And I caused such a huge incident? He thought of the confident words he had said back then. Who in the entire Demon Peacock Emperor's realm would dare to not give face to the Fox Emperor's token? The Fox Emperor couldn't help but want to cry. You. What kind of scammer are you? Chapter 1309. Yun Yang's journey had been an exciting one. He had initially planned to return from the Fox Emperor's side. This was the route he had initially planned. If the demon race had yet to erupt after this series of events, and his last place of disappearance had been the Fox clan, then the suspicion of the Fox clan would be increased by at least 10%. If you want to cheat someone, you have to cheat them until they die. Since you've already made use of both sides, why not just make use of them all? However, He did not expect to be discovered by the demon race while he was still wreaking havoc. In this way, as long as he found the Fox Emperor, the truth would definitely be exposed, and his identity would no longer be able to be concealed. If he were to ask the Fox Emperor for help now, he would probably be handing over his own head to the Fox Emperor. The Fox Emperor was definitely going to hate him to the core. It would be a good thing if he didn't eat him alive. But where was he going to go back from on this return journey? Yin Yang had done his homework beforehand. There were about 7 places where the demon race and the human race would battle, and each place was heavily guarded by the human race, preventing the demon race's army from entering. On the other hand, the demon clan's army was also suppressing the area, ready to launch an attack at any time. In other words, he had 7 choices, and the only thing they had to pay attention to was the Saint Monarch-level powerhouses guarding these 7 paths. According to the information Yin Yang had gathered, each of these 7 locations had more than one Saint Lord-level expert. With Yin Yang's cultivation base, it would not be a problem if he could conceal himself to ensure his safety. However, the situation now was vastly different from when he had first arrived. The demonic emperor had sent out many special demons known for their mental strength, such as the Golden Fish King, that had devoured Yin Yang's water form before. It was unrealistic for him to conceal himself completely, but it was even more difficult to charge through. It was no different from committing suicide. Even with Yin Yang's intelligence, he had no clue what to do next. However, his composure after experiencing countless things didn't allow him to panic at all. It doesn't matter even if I can't go back for now. How vast was the monster realm? Even if there was a powerful being like the Golden Fish King, it would need to be close to me in order to threaten me. With my ever-changing ability, as long as I didn't court death, I wouldn't be able to threaten me. He might be able to stir up a storm in the demon race. However, we must be cautious. Faced with the situation where hundreds of billions of demonic beasts were searching for him, Yin Yang only took a breath to decide on his next step. The most dangerous place is also the safest place. Since I can't get away anyway, why don't I take this opportunity to take a stroll around Demon Imperial City? Maybe going to Phoenix City for a walk is also a good choice. I'll give you another 10,000 yuan. I can go to the Demon Soul Sea. Yin Yang had turned into an extremely ordinary-looking wolf demon and strolled leisurely on the road. His current cultivation level was only that of a Saint King. It was just that the way it behaved like a curious baby that would go wherever there was excitement made many demons speechless. This wolf demon, was it not afraid of death, or was it afraid of not dying? In order to catch the spy, blood and flesh were flying everywhere. And you still came over with a face full of amazement. Aren't you just fanning the flames? His cultivation was so low, yet he was so daring. There was no one else like him who could court death like this. They were amazed and amazed. A certain wolf had traversed 17,000 miles leisurely, yet he did not meet anyone who came up to check him. He really did not know if it was a blessing or a misfortune. Many demon couples would fight to the death even if they could not match the secret code. This lone wolf demon did not ask any questions throughout the whole process. It was obvious how terrifying a coincidence could be. However, was this really a coincidence? You went up to ask questions when you saw a demon, trying all sorts of ways to get close to them. Then, you would even come up with all sorts of plans to help after you became familiar with them. It's very difficult to find the spy, said the wolf demon. But it's not completely impossible. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. Since that fox demon has the ability to change, who knows what he's going to look like? What if he suddenly attacks us all? It'll be terrible. Just look at what he's done previously, killing so many demons. How can we withstand it with our weak bodies? I have an idea. A secret code. Aya, the secret code you designed is not good. All 12 of you know it. It'll be too easy for the enemy to fish in troubled waters. Think about it. Don't you think what I said makes sense? It does make sense. I suggest that between every 2 demons, there must be a special code that only belongs to the 2 demons. And this code must not be known by a third party. You see, there are 12 of us, so each of us needs 11 sets of code. Is this right? As long as it matches, it's definitely our own demon. If it doesn't match, won't it be clear? Under the wolf demon's plan, the group of Saint King demonic beasts began to communicate with each other using secret codes. In the first few days, it was very peaceful, and because of the secret codes, all the demons felt very at ease. As a result, along the way, they spread this idea everywhere, afraid that others would not know. This was also the wolf demon's idea. Aya, you can't just think about yourselves. Think about it. If we use this method to find the fox demon, we'll have made a great contribution. No matter who finds it, we'll have a share in the final reward. Even if we don't get a share of the credit, we'll still be solving a big problem for the demon race. Don't take it lightly. Think about it. With our meager strength, even if we happen to find the fox demon, can we kill it? We definitely can't, right? Since we can't, we'll have to find another way and use a strategy to gain our credit. Don't you think so? Isn't this logical? When the demons heard this, they felt that this was too *king logical. With the strength of that fox demon that killed so many Saint Venerables, the few of them definitely couldn't do it. But with this method, once discovered, the demons would attack together, and it would definitely be a different matter. Thus, along the way, the eyes of all the demons they met lit up. This was a good idea. Identifying enemies, a wonderful way to save one's life. This was a really good idea, especially those demons that had a large number of demons who were already having a headache over the purity of their troops. When they heard this method, they were even more overjoyed and elated. Along the way, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000,000. More and more demons used this method. As a result, in the end, every time they went to a city, the wolf demon would set up a high platform and spread this method to all the demons in the city, gaining countless praises. Although the wolf demon's strength was shallow, many high-level demons respectfully called it intelligent star wolf. And end. Chapter 13:10. All the demons were in awe of this resourceful celestial wolf, who came up with strategies. It was just that this fellow did not forget to mention that if the method worked and the target was captured, they should remember to give him a share of the credit. It felt a little undignified, but on second thought, since he had given such a good method to everyone, it was reasonable for him to want some benefits. As the celestial wolf demon continued to preach and teach, everything was orderly for a period of time. It was only half a month, then a problem arose. It was normal for 3 to 5 demons to have code words between each other. There would not be any loopholes, but what about dozens of demons? 20 or so, 40 or 50, 1 or 200? In fact, what if there were thousands of demons? Any demon they met would have a special code word that belonged only to them. How much of a test of memory was this? As a result, very soon, some of the demons' brains were in knots. They either remembered it wrongly or answered it wrongly. Many answers were in their heads, and after a long time, they were like glue. Even those who were more meticulous and recorded the code words of all the demons and themselves after they returned could not take it anymore. There were also many who asked preemptively when they met demons they knew, but they asked the wrong question the moment they opened their mouths. This should be another demon's code word. What did the wrong answer mean? F***CK. Spy. Fox demon. Target. It was merit points. The chance to ascend to heaven in a single bound had come. Hence the fight broke out. It was a battle of life and death. As time went on, such battles increased. They could be seen almost everywhere. It was a common occurrence after a meal. Therefore, the celestial wolf demon preached for tens of thousands of miles, amassing the way of the code word. Behind him, however, was a path of bloodshed. This bloodshed was still spreading outwards. The method was indeed effective. Any demon would think that it was effective, and it was indeed effective. There was only one prerequisite. One had to have a corresponding memory. Therefore, once something went wrong, there was no doubt that it was a spy. When a month had passed, the wolf demon that Yin Yang had transformed into was less than 10,000 miles away from Demon Imperial City. And his greatest achievement along the way was, they moved forward and backward, left and right, going back and forth, traveling no less than 50,000 li. Let's start from the place where he started preaching. By the time he reached the 500-kilometer mark, several demons had already died under his method. By the time he reached 3,000 li, the number of dead demons had already reached several hundred. By the time he reached 10,000 li, the number had surged to more than 10,000. By the time he reached his current position, there were already at least 1 million demons behind him. They had died tragically because of his secret signal. He had killed 1 million enemies without even drawing his saber. And this number continued to grow crazily with each passing day. There was a mountain with 8,000 to 9,000 demons. But now there were less than 1,000 left. Half a month after he left, hundreds of thousands of demons had died in the city where millions of demons lived. More than half of the population had been reduced. The tyrannical part of this method was, even when the demons were dead, the secret signal was still alive in the minds of the living demons. It was easy to remember it, but it was difficult to forget it. And when there were so many secret codes, and the targets were either dead or alive, it would be even more difficult to remember who belonged to who. Yun Yang traveled in a carefree manner. Hundreds of thousands of miles behind him were peaceful, but hundreds of thousands of miles away, it was bound to be a sea of blood. As he continued to move forward, the memory of the originally peaceful place gradually became chaotic, and the same thing happened in other places. Once it had reached this stage, the wolf demon would naturally disappear, but the tiger demon, eagle demon, and bear demon could still come one after another. Wherever Yun Yang had stepped foot in the demon realm, it was inevitable that hostility would rise, blood would flow, and bones would pile up like mountains. Countless karmic chi was surging into Yin Yang's space like a tsunami every day. I don't kill them, but they die because of me. Besides, killing with a saber was killing, and killing with a mouth was also killing. The sharpness of Yin Yang's mouth had never lost to the divine edge. This was a publicly acknowledged fact in the Tianxian continent. Not long after, this fact would be acknowledged in the bound of universe, or at least in the realm of demonic beasts. When Yun Yang was about 20,000 miles away from the demon imperial city, the situation had developed to the point where teams of experts could be seen running out at any time. The path that Yun Yang had taken to come here was the most critical area, attracting the attention of the higher-ups. There had been no news of any changes happening before this. Why did they suddenly start killing each other? And millions of them at once? What had happened? There had to be something. Was there some demonic realm cultivation method, mystical treasure, spiritual medicine, spiritual plant, or spiritual root that was hidden in the world? There was a saying in the human world that where there were people, there would be martial arts. This saying was correct, but the scope was a little thin. At least, it should be changed to where there were people or demons, there would be martial arts. The demonic race would also trigger martial arts calamities due to some special opportunities. It was also because the demonic race worshipped the strong more. Once there was a unique cultivation method or legacy of the demonic realm strong, it was not rare to cause a large number of demonic race casualties. What was rare was that there were no signs of this upheaval at all. Usually, the demonic realm's higher-ups, the so-called officials, would know about it in advance and take precautions so that they could control the situation later. This time, however, everything had happened so suddenly and inexplicably. Furthermore, the demonic race experts who were in charge of handling these matters did not connect these casualties to the fox demon at all. Although the demon fox's strength was tyrannical, and it had taken countless demon lives, it also had a miraculous transformation technique that could cause a large number of casualties. But, up until now, the demons that had died at the demon fox's hands were at least saint rulers, or even saint kings and saint venerables. In fact, the demon fox did not even deign to kill saint ruler level demons. After all, its true strength was clear for all to see. Although the upheaval this time involved a large number of territories and demonic heads, high-level demons and above were rarely involved. The fox demon was only a single demon, so it was difficult to create such a huge scene no matter what. Naturally, no one connected it to the fox demon. By the time these experts rushed over, the millions of demonic heads that had been reported from the front line had already grown to a scale of tens of millions. And they were still killing each other with bloodshot eyes. Give me your life, fox demon. The Saint Lords in the air felt as if their heads were about to explode. This was no less than 50 to 60,000 miles. Moreover, why were they shouting like this everywhere? What the hell? Were there so many fox demons? The reason for this scene was very simple. And it was even more violent. Too many demons had killed their fellow demonic beasts because of their own misjudgment. However, their pride could not be overcome, and they could not sheath their blades. All of their eyes were bloodshot. Kill the fox demon and avenge my brothers. As a result, more and more demonic beasts died in the hands of their brothers, their companions, until they were killed and revealed their true forms. Only then would they confirm that they had killed the wrong people. Then a discussion arose. The fox demon is everywhere, everywhere. The fox demon's transformation ability was beyond imagination, and it had the ability to bewitch demons. Then, another wave of discussion arose. The Demon King's orders could not be disobeyed. The fox demon must die. The fox demon must die. Then, the most extreme view began to appear. It was better to kill 10,000 innocents than to let one fox demon go. As this discussion became more and more intense, 1/3 of the entire Demon Emperor's realm was gradually affected. When the Demon King heard the news, he became even more furious, and gave another strict order. We must capture the fox demon at all costs. If the Phoenix Emperor did not go to the Fox Emperor's side, with his intelligence, he would definitely stop it. As for the other demons, even if they felt that something was wrong, they did not dare to face the enraged Demon King. In reality, the demon race would not only have the Phoenix Emperor as a wise person. Many demons had already seen through the trap. However, no matter if it was a human or a demon, as long as they were intelligent, they would habitually want to make use of the current situation to benefit themselves. Many demons with hearts had even used the current evil wind to set up a killing trap, targeting their mortal enemies. This had indirectly caused the evil wind to grow stronger day by day, and it was difficult to stop. This situation continued until the Fox Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor hurried to the Demon Emperor's palace. Along the way, the Phoenix Emperor and the Fox Emperor discussed the current situation. They did not travel very quickly, and only when they reached the inner lands of the Demon Peacock Emperor's realm did they realize that the demonic wind had already reached a considerable scale. They walked for another 10,000 miles, and what they saw along the way was even more tragic. The Phoenix Emperor reacted quickly and came to a conclusion. This was bad. There was a huge hidden danger in the Demon Emperor's order. Once it was used by the demons, it would lead to a great disaster, and the consequences would be dire. Return immediately. 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 The Phoenix Emperor was burning with anxiety, and did not hesitate to expend a large amount of inner yuan to once again use a mysterious technique. He directly tore apart the space, and instantly returned to the Demon Emperor's palace, and just happened to bump into the enraged Demon Emperor. It's just a demon fox, yet it managed to turn the world upside down. Investigate. Investigate thoroughly. Even if we have to scrape the ground and turn the entire Demon Emperor's realm upside down, we must find the fox demon, tear her into pieces, and burn her to ashes. A bunch of useless things. You can't even catch a small fox demon. What are you all doing? Why are you still not going out to investigate? Why are you standing here like a block of wood? Haven't you all heard enough of my scolding? Investigate. 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 The figure flashed. The Phoenix Emperor and the Fox Emperor landed in the main hall, and the Phoenix Emperor's anxious voice sounded. Your Majesty, please calm down. Then he said hurriedly, leave this matter to me. The Phoenix Emperor's voice was mixed with the calmness of an iceberg, and it smashed down. It caused all the higher-ups of the demon race in the main hall to calm down for a moment. The Demon Emperor, who was in a state of rage, actually calmed down because of this. This was the secret of the Phoenix race, heavenly voice of the divine Phoenix. It was best at shocking the soul and stirring the heart. The Demon Emperor turned his head to look, and saw the Fox Emperor in a fluttering green robe. His emotions that had just calmed down suddenly exploded again, and he roared angrily. Nine-tailed white. What the hell are you doing? The Fox Emperor said coldly. When did I ever do anything? The one who is doing anything is your majesty. I only have one question to ask. What is your majesty Demon Emperor's intention? You have sent 10 great sages at one go, and with such great fanfare to denounce us. Do you want to directly exterminate the fox race? The Demon Emperor was enraged. Nonsense, how could there be such a thing? The Fox Emperor said angrily. How could there be such a thing? The truth was right in front of him. Even if the Demon Emperor's words were law, could he change the truth? The truth is, Azure Dragon led the team, and after he went there, he directly killed my son with one palm strike, and then smashed the entire Fox Palace into pieces, causing countless deaths and injuries. He even wanted to capture all the demons of the royal race. He said that the fox race was rebelling, and that the entire fox race should be exterminated. Your Majesty Demon Emperor, could it be that this was not an order from you? The Demon Emperor was enraged. I did not give such an order. The Fox Emperor waved his hand and laughed coldly. Ha 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 ha, the few of you come out. I want to ask your Majesty Demon Emperor, what exactly happened? Could it be that the few of you colluded with Azure Dragon and issued a false imperial decree to exterminate the fox race? The expressions of the 9 great sages of the royal family law enforcement team were all extremely ugly, and they all stood in the main hall. The Demon Emperor roared. Tell me, did I say that I wanted to exterminate the fox race? The mouths of the 9 great sages twitched. Indeed, you did not directly say that you wanted to exterminate the fox race, but you said that you were going to deal with them easily. With this title, so what if you exterminated the fox race? Especially, you directly let Azure Dragon lead the team? Who didn't think that there was a deeper meaning behind it? Or was this the scheming of a monarch? Who dared to question it? But at this moment, all the demons lowered their heads and didn't speak. Everyone knew that if they argued at this moment, they would be wrong even if they were right, and even more wrong if they were wrong. The more they spoke, the more wrong they would be. Not speaking was the right thing to do, and it was the only way to preserve their lives. At the side, the Phoenix Emperor sighed and said in a deep voice, Indeed, we have to deal with this matter first. Your Majesty, did you say that you wanted to exterminate the fox race? I'm sure you didn't. But what did you instruct at that time? You should know what you are doing, right? His tone became heavier as he said, Azure Dragon and Nine-Tailed White have been enemies for hundreds of thousands of years, as well as enemies of love. I wonder if you have considered this point. The Demon Emperor was flabbergasted. After a while he flew into a rage. How many years has it been? May I ask your Majesty, what did you say at that time? Did you instruct that Azure Dragon to deal with my fox race? The Demon Emperor stammered, his face flushed red. He argued irrationally. I did say that I would let him deal with me according to the situation. But, the Fox Emperor laughed coldly. You told my enemy to deal with me according to the situation. What's the difference between that and telling him to kill me? The Demon Emperor opened his mouth and wanted to speak, but he couldn't speak for a long while. After a long while he said hatefully, If you didn't do this, why would I have to? At this point he sighed. Then he said with some irritation, What else can I say? Hurry up and deal with this matter first. Where's Azure Dragon? I told him to look for you. But he did such a thing. I won't forgive him. The Fox Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. They knew that the Demon Emperor had said this to express his intention of admitting defeat and apologizing. And the Fox Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor's goal would be achieved. Chapter 13:11. What the two sovereigns were most worried about was that the Demon Sovereign would punish the Fox Sovereign in a fit of rage. If that happened, the situation might really get out of hand. After all, the Demon Sovereign was the highest sovereign of the demon race. His words were the law, and he could be reasonable even if he was unreasonable. Hence, the Fox Sovereign took the initiative and suppressed the Demon Sovereign on the basis of reason. He first made the hot-tempered sovereign feel that he was in the wrong, and then everything would be fine. From the looks of it, things were developing smoothly. Of course, the Phoenix Sovereign had also contributed a lot. In the entire demon race, apart from the Phoenix Sovereign, Even the dragon queen might not be able to persuade her demon sovereign husband. It doesn't matter whether you spare Azure Dragon or not. Azure Dragon killed my son, and I have already killed him on the spot. The fox sovereign's face darkened, and he said sorrowfully, "What your majesty needs to consider now is that the fox race is in a frenzy because of this matter. I can no longer suppress it." The demon sovereign stared. "What did you say? Azure Dragon is dead?" Then he stared again. "The fox race is in chaos. Nine-tailed white, you have been the fox sovereign for so many years. As the leader of the fox race, you can't suppress the emotions of your people? What are you doing?" The fox sovereign said coldly, "Your Majesty, you must be joking. The reason why the fox race is so furious is because of my son's unjust death. What right do I have to suppress it? On the other hand, if I suppress this emotion directly, wouldn't I be going against the law? How can I lead the fox race?" The fox sovereign snorted and said, "When the dragon prince died, your Majesty suppressed it?" The demon sovereign was dumbfounded. He couldn't help but feel his face turn purple. How dare the fox expose my shortcomings? In just 2 sentences, the fox sovereign had already glossed over the Azure Dragon's death, and even suppressed the demon sovereign on the basis of righteousness. The phoenix sovereign interrupted and said, "Your Majesty, water has its source, trees have their roots, and everything has its cause. That Azure Dragon used the soul-exterminating palm on the fox prince, and he didn't even greet him. He suddenly attacked when he was caught off guard. The fox prince's soul was instantly destroyed. Even though the fox queen tried her best to save him, she could only keep a remnant of his soul. If the fox race doesn't have any emotions, and doesn't do anything, that would be the fox sovereign's failure. This matter of his is indeed difficult." Demon sovereign was enraged. "That bastard Qing Long. At such a critical juncture, you actually want to use your position to avenge a personal grudge. You really deserve to die." The Phoenix Monarch said, "Sigh, the life and death of the Azure Dragon are already inconsequential. Your Majesty, the Fox Monarch only has this one successor. Thankfully, I arrived in time and managed to protect the remnant of that child's soul. However, in terms of reviving the soul and prolonging its life, I'm unable to do it myself. I need your Majesty to join forces with me to have any hope of reviving it." The Fox Emperor cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, please take pity on my son's fate." The Demon Sovereign looked at the Phoenix Sovereign and said in a low voice, "Phoenix Sovereign, I understand what you mean. This is something that should be done. However, even if you and I don't hesitate to expend a lot of our vitality and give it our all, we will at most have less than 40% success rate. That's fine. But if both of us drop our cultivation levels, it will be difficult for us to recover our peak battle prowess in 100 years. There will be a lot of trouble in the future. Are you sure you want to do this?" The Phoenix Monarch said solemnly, "I think that it can be done, that it should be done, that it must be done." The Demon Sovereign was silent for a moment before he finally nodded. "Since you have already decided, I will agree to it. However, Fox Emperor, you must also promise me one thing." "Please speak, Your Majesty." The Demon Sovereign sighed. "Azure Dragon is the main culprit of this matter. If he dies, then so be it. However, as the saying goes, if he dies, then he dies. As for Azure Dragon's family and clansmen, just raise your hand." The Fox Emperor was silent for a moment before he said, "Since Your Majesty has spoken, as long as they don't take the initiative to provoke me, I will consider it. However, if they take the initiative to find trouble with me, I will still retaliate at the first instant. My son was killed, the Empress was bullied, and the palace was destroyed. If anyone tries to bully me and still wants me to tolerate it, I would rather not be the Fox Emperor than to do so." The Demon Sovereign sighed deeply. That's good. This matter had come to an end. The next moment, the Phoenix Monarch immediately issued an order. Pass down the Demon Sovereign's order. The Fox Demon who destroyed the underground prison has been captured and brought to justice. This matter ends here. It has come to an end." He then turned to the Fox Emperor. "Brother Fox, it won't be a problem for the Fox clan to send out a Saint Venerable to cooperate with us and put on an act, right?" The Fox Emperor had a complicated expression. No problem. The demon sovereign at the side was full of confusion. After a moment he said angrily, Phoenix Monarch, what's wrong with you? When did you capture that fox demon? Why didn't I know about it? Don't you think you can do whatever you want just because I love you? The Phoenix Monarch sighed. We haven't captured that fox demon yet, but if we continue to carry out your orders, the entire demon clan might end up killing each other. The demon sovereign was stunned. Although he was not as smart as the Phoenix Monarch and had a bad temper, he could easily do some reckless things when his temper flared up. However, since he could become the king of the demon clan, he was not a fool. He naturally had the heart of an emperor. After the Phoenix Monarch said this, he immediately understood. There should be a huge loophole in his original orders, and it had already been used by a heart demon. Send it out immediately. The Phoenix Monarch directly took the demon sovereign's seal, stamped it, and threw it out. Then a second demon sovereign's order was passed down. Calculate all the casualties and deaths. The demon sovereign's expression instantly changed. He hurriedly stopped him. What's the point of calculating the casualties? There's no need for that. The Phoenix Monarch slowly said. Calculating the casualties is for your own sake. Demon Sovereign. In order to let you know what a stupid thing you've done. Only the most detailed information is the best proof. The Phoenix Monarch indifferently glanced at the Demon Sovereign. The Demon Sovereign's expression instantly darkened. I knew you were not a good person. Otherwise, why would I stop you? However, the situation was obvious now. It was impossible to stop him, because the Demon Sovereign's order had already been stamped and passed down. What do we do next? The Demon Sovereign's expression darkened. What do we do? You're the Demon Sovereign, okay? The Phoenix Monarch stretched lazily and was a little weak. You always create a mess for me to clean up. Tell me, after so many years, how many times have you done it? I'd rather you not love me, so that I can still be free. The Demon Sovereign opened his mouth and was unable to say anything. After a long while he struggled to say, Back then, you said you didn't want to do it. Now it's all my fault. The Phoenix Monarch was so angry that his stomach hurt. I'm not a member of the Demon Sovereign clan. How can I do it? Just this point alone was enough to cause the entire demon clan to riot. Could every demon clan become a demon sovereign regardless of their clan? If this theory was spread, then the demon emperor's realm would really be finished. Moreover, who allowed you to become the #1 expert in the demon clan grand tournament back then? Was it because I didn't want to do it? Even if I risked my life, I still couldn't beat you, okay? You're the #1 expert in the world. Of course you have to be the demon sovereign. The demon clan's principle was that the strong were revered. This was the principle. Also, don't be so ambiguous every time you speak. What do you mean by loving me? What the F***ck is that? Forget it. The Phoenix Monarch sat down sullenly and scolded through gritted teeth. I owed you in my past life. In this life, the entire demon clan will have to clean up your mess for you. Although the demon sovereign's intelligence was only above average, he had always been very sensitive to insults. His expression suddenly changed at the Phoenix Monarch's words, and he said angrily, Whose father are you? Phoenix Monarch, I realize that you're getting cocky now. Do you still know who's at the top and who's at the bottom? As he spoke, he began to roll up his sleeves. The Phoenix Monarch was so angry that he was speechless. His face was ashen. Didn't I just blurt it out? The Fox Monarch was half trying to smooth things over, and half changing the topic. Your Majesty, may I ask how many ethereal amethysts you have? The Demon Sovereign's attention was immediately diverted. He scratched his head and said, That stuff is very rare. I have about 30 pieces here. Why? The Fox Monarch looked hopeless. 30 pieces, that's not enough, the Demon Sovereign. I've already said that stuff is rare. I have more than 30 pieces here. And that's definitely the most I have in the demon clan. I didn't say that I'll give it to you. What do you mean by not enough? The Phoenix Monarch had already pulled him down from the throne, but he did not notice at all. He simply walked down from the throne and walked up to the Fox Monarch, asking a series of questions. What do you want the ethereal amethysts for? This stuff is rare even among the humans, and even rarer among the demon clan. On the other side, the Phoenix monarch was already sitting on the throne and issuing orders. Sovereigns of the various clans, gather for a meeting. Also, the elites of the clans that specialize in soul energy and mental energy are not to be left behind. I want everyone to gather at the demon palace within 2 hours. His subordinates left to carry out the orders. No one felt that there was anything wrong with the Phoenix monarch sitting on the demon sovereign's throne and issuing orders. They were probably used to it. The demon sovereign, on the other hand, did not feel anything was amiss. He was still frowning and looking worried. This ethereal amethysts, where do I get them? If it were something else, or something that the demon clan can get their hands on, I can gather them for you no matter how many you have. But this ethereal amethysts, there's not much of them in the entire bound of universe. On the other side, the Phoenix monarch's orders were passed down one after another. Of course, they were all in the name of the demon sovereign. The demon sovereign patted the fox monarch's shoulder and sighed. I understand how you feel, Sai. He could not help but recall the time when his son was killed by the 9 Lives cat. Nostalgia filled the demon sovereign's eyes. Don't worry, the Phoenix monarch and I will do our best. Even if our combat power is reduced, we won't regret it. The fox monarch nodded repeatedly. He looked at the demon sovereign with a strange gaze, and then at the Phoenix monarch, who was sitting on the throne boldly. He was suddenly convinced. This fellow was not worried about being usurped at all. Perhaps he did not even have such a thought in his heart. Should it be said that being simple-minded was also a form of happiness? Yun Yang, who was still on his way, acutely noticed that the turmoil in the demon clan seemed to have calmed down all of a sudden. This was obviously not right. People's hearts were moved by wealth. With such a terrible situation, even if a large number of officials were to intervene, it would still be difficult to pacify the situation. Yun Yang probed around, seemingly unintentionally, and immediately understood that the demon emperor's court had sent out the news that the demon fox had been captured. Once the news was out, the enthusiasm of the entire demon emperor's realm to capture the demon fox plummeted. Once the source of the unrest was eliminated, the chaos was immediately pacified. How did she get captured? Useless demon fox. How could she be captured so easily? My chance to ascend to the heavens in a single bound. How despicable. Who was it that snatched away my opportunity? Your father will not live under the same sky as him. How could it be so fast? How could it be so fast? Didn't they say that the demon fox was very, very powerful? Yes. Didn't they say that the demon fox's ability was at the pinnacle of the supreme saint level, comparable to a saint lord's combat power? She even has the ability to change forms. How could she be so useless? Let's get straight to the battle situation. How many experts were sent out? Millions of imperial guards were sent out. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake to capture the demon fox then? With such a military force, no matter how powerful her combat power is, she won't be of any help to the overall situation. Sigh. Countless demonic beasts were disappointed and unwilling. Their hearts were filled with reluctance. It was such a waste of such an opportunity. Yun Yang, on the other hand, immediately felt that something was amiss. The previous news was too advantageous to him, allowing him to stir up trouble smoothly. He followed the demon emperor's order and went with the flow, stirring up this bloody catastrophe of the demon race. As long as he, the source, was not dealt with, there would be no end to this catastrophe. Now, however, he had suddenly taken drastic measures to stop everything. It was too abnormal. It was completely different from the demon emperor's style of doing things that Yin Yang knew. It was as if he had become a different person, a demon. Moreover, he was a very intelligent demon who could see through the big picture. An intelligent demon. In the past, people often said that one was as intelligent as a demon, and Yin Yang had been praised as being as intelligent as a demon. However, Yun Yang felt that he had not met any demon that could be considered a worthy opponent during this trip to the demon race. Not even the demon emperor was an exception. In fact, the current demon emperor was an idiot. It could be seen from the demon emperor's order that Yun Yang had used to its fullest potential. Now, however, The Demon Emperor's order from the Demon Emperor's palace had surprised Yun Yang. Apart from the surprise, there were still many thoughts that lingered in his mind. How could he fish in troubled waters after what they had done? But it was still not right. If the Demon Emperor himself had such wisdom, the first demon decree would not have been sent out of the Demon Emperor palace. So now, the other demon decree directly took drastic measures and destroyed his plan to set the prairie ablaze with sparks. Who was it? Could there be a great demon in the Demon Emperor's court who could change the Demon Emperor's decision? Was it not said that the Demon Emperor's ability was astonishing, and that he was the top of the demon race? Now that a wise person had entered the fray, he had to be cautious. Yun Yang stopped his preaching journey at once, and quickly left the team he had just joined. He then sprinted tens of thousands of miles, in an extremely short amount of time. He then made a turn and sprinted back for another 7,000 miles. Along the way, he kept changing his identity, his appearance, and his race background. In total, Yun Yang had killed 15 demons and changed into the demon's appearance. After using it for a while, he would throw it away and change again, repeating the process. On this day, Yun Yang had changed his appearance again. He had turned into a tiger demon and walked calmly on the road. He looked no different from any other ordinary demon. However, on the surface, the fox demon's kill order had been withdrawn. In reality, the high-end tracking methods had never stopped at all. Now that the Phoenix Emperor was in charge of the situation, they were even more incisive. In reality, the demon race's tracking divine consciousness had started tracking him less than half a day after his wolf demon form left. The resourceful celestial wolf had become a new wanted criminal. Yun Yang had changed his identity 8 times and his soul wave 8 times, but it was like a parasite that he could not shake off. Then Yun Yang changed his identity 7 times, in an extremely short period of time. Only then did he finally get rid of the prickling feeling. The demon race's tracking method this time is rather terrifying. The effect is remarkable. What should I do next? Yun Yang pondered. The current situation had somewhat exceeded his expectations. It was difficult to handle. Chapter 13:12. The other party had an intelligent demon to take charge of the situation. The situation had already been reversed. Even if he was temporarily safe, there was no guarantee that he would not be overturned in an instant. 15,000 kilometers ahead was the demon imperial city. Should he go or not to go to this initial destination he had set? Also, how should he deal with his identity? If it were an existing demon race, it would be too easy for me to be discovered and ambushed. As long as there's a familiar one, what awaits me may be thousands of traps, and I may not be able to see through them. If I accidentally step into one, I will be doomed eternally. However, if it's a demon that has never shown itself, it'll be hard to be safe. Although it can ensure safety in the wilderness, it won't be of much use. However, once I enter the demon imperial city, or go to other places where the demon clan gathers, I'll inevitably attract attention. In the eyes of humans, the demon clan may look the same and hard to distinguish, but in the eyes of the demon clan, it must be very easy to distinguish. This was easy to understand. Humans, for example, could easily recognize familiar people and call out their names. On the other hand, the demon clan's perception of their own clan must be the same. It was all the same. Such wishful thinking must not exist, especially when the other party has an intelligent demon. Any wishful thinking could be a fatal flaw. However, this is the core area of the demon clan. If I want to go back, I have to pass through here. Sigh, how troublesome. During this period of time, the Fox Emperor's medallion in his deific consciousness had vibrated once. Although the movement was very slight, Yun Yang still noticed it. The Fox Emperor must have known about this. He might even have participated in the search for him. After this incident, the grudge between him and the Fox Emperor would be huge. The other party would never let him go. Right now, the higher-ups of the demon race have only started a targeted search for me, and it's not that strict. But as time passes, the demon race will regain its order. Coupled with the intelligent demon race and the Fox Emperor, who are peak experts in this world, the leeway for me to escape will be even more limited. Yun Yang sucked in a deep breath. He stared into the distance. Demon Imperial City. It seemed that he had to make a trip to this city. Did they not say that the most dangerous place was the safest? He would try to get closer and test the waters. In Demon Imperial City, the Phoenix Emperor sat cross-legged and scrutinized a portrait in her hand. It was the portrait of Yun Yang that the Fox Emperor had sent to the Phoenix Emperor through telepathy. There was also the word Yun Yang written on his palm. After a moment, he closed his eyes and solemnly closed his palms. There was an inexplicable feeling that he should be very familiar with this name. But he knew very well that he had absolutely no idea about this Yun Yang. The Phoenix Emperor's thoughts raced through her mind as she came to a sudden realization. The only explanation was that her physical manifestation had once had some sort of connection with Yin Yang. However, when he was cultivating the outer body incarnation, he had divided into 9 incarnations. So far, 8 of them had successfully returned. Only the last incarnation seemed to have gone wrong. In fact, when this incarnation was first created, it was different from the other incarnations because it disappeared directly from the demon realm. As the main body, he only had one feeling, and that was that this incarnation had gone to the lower realm. At that time, apart from the initial shock, all that was left was joy. Other than knowing where the incarnation had gone, it must be in another part of the bound of universe that had been separated by the God of universe. It was also because the incarnation had gone to another part of the bound of universe that the demon race's future did not have to be limited to the bound of universe's human race. There could be other places. In the process of replying to her clones, the Phoenix Emperor learned much about the situation in the Tianxian continent on the other side, including how the cultivation base level of this realm was extremely backward. The ones with the highest cultivation base were merely the weakest in the bound of universe. However, the Phoenix Emperor also realized that she could not descend with her real body. If she were to cross over forcefully, she would trigger some special backlash. Recalling that the Tianxian continent and the bound of universe used to be one, but had been separated by the God of universe's sword, the Phoenix Emperor dared not act recklessly. She only ordered her clones to collect the items that could allow her real body to descend. When the time was right, she could cross over with a single step and rule the world. With the cultivation base level of the Tianxian continent, her clones would definitely be successful. It was only a matter of time before her real body arrived. However, other than the beginning, the Phoenix Emperor could also control her clones and receive a considerable amount of information. She knew that her clones had created an organization called the Four Seasons Tower that was awe-inspiring and dominated the world. For this, she had specially rewarded her clones with a nirvanic soul. It ensured that even if the avatar encountered extreme danger, even if it was killed by the other party, the avatar's soul would still be preserved. Even after a long time, the avatar could still be reborn with its memories and reconnect with the avatar. Thanks to the Phoenix Emperor's clones' innate cultivation base, the clones had only been killed once throughout the years. Later on, when they reached the end of their lifespans, they disintegrated automatically. This plan had coincidentally worked, allowing the Phoenix Emperor's real body to continuously receive reports from her clones. It made the Phoenix Emperor yearn for the other world more and more. However, when the Phoenix Emperor felt that his cultivation base had reached its peak, and that as long as he recalled his last clones, he would possess the ability to cross realms and descend, he had inexplicably lost contact with his clones. That situation was probably, other than the fact that his spirit could still sense and confirm that his clone still existed, everything else was completely out of his control. How intelligent was the Phoenix Emperor? He instantly came to a conclusion, and that was that his clone had developed his own emotions. He decided to only be a clone. He wanted to be the master of the clan and be independent. This situation was F***ed up. The path of cloning followed the master and follower the most. The main body's control over his clones was extremely strong. There had never been a case of a clone betraying the main body and attempting to act on its own. In his rage, the Phoenix Emperor had the sudden thought to destroy the clones on the other side. Although he would lose a considerable portion of his gains, the Phoenix Emperor estimated that it would still be enough for him to cross realms. However, what surprised him once again was that his destruction did not have much of an effect. The distance between two realms could actually greatly obstruct the main body's control over his clones. Finally, although the Phoenix Monarch's intent to destroy had heavily injured the clone and caused it to lose the exclusive ability of the Phoenix tribe, from then on, the Phoenix Monarch's control over the clone was only left with a faint sense of it. This situation continued until recent years. One day, unexpectedly, the sense was completely cut off. At first, the Phoenix Emperor had thought that the clone had used some technique to completely cut off his sense, but he had unexpectedly received the return of the clone's power. The only possibility for this situation was the clone had died, and the clone's spirit that had finally returned was only a ball of soul energy, which was filled with chaos and haze. The Phoenix Emperor had tried to extract information from it, but it was a pity that his repeated attempts were in vain. The Phoenix Emperor's rage was no small matter. He had no idea what had happened on the other side. Why had his clone, which had existed for countless years, disappeared just like that? All that was left was a ball of soul energy and a little bit of special sense. What the F***ck was this? This matter was the Phoenix Emperor's greatest humiliation in his lifetime. It was also the first time in his life that he had been so embarrassed that he could not show his face. The clone that he had created, the clone that should have been loyal to him, had inexplicably developed its own emotions, rejecting him and rebelling against him. It had even succeeded, causing him to be helpless for countless years. If this matter were to spread, the Phoenix Emperor felt that he would die of embarrassment. That was why he had not mentioned it all these years. He was too ashamed to mention it. Even someone as close as the Dragon Emperor did not know that the Phoenix Emperor had such a history. Yin Yang's name had actually triggered the tiny sense of the clone's chaotic soul energy, giving him an unfamiliar sense of familiarity. The Phoenix Emperor's eyes shone brightly. This yin yang might be a fated opportunity for him. If my art of 9 phoenixes could return completely, I could allow my true form to reach the level of the Phoenix ancestor back then. If that's the case, no one in this world would be a match for my palm. It's a pity that I'm missing a phoenix. It's a regret that can never be made up for. Who was it that schemed against me back then? The Phoenix Emperor closed his eyes in deep thought. Who was it that allowed my clone to develop the ability to act autonomously? Who was it that severed the link between me and my clone? The mere distance of 2 realms can't make me lose contact completely. In the end, who was it that killed my clone? These are all mysteries. However, I have all the memories of those clones that have returned in the past. This Yin Yang. He gave me a sense of familiarity, but I didn't know him. He must be an important opponent of the clone that had disappeared. He might even be the final opponent that killed the clone. Unless it's someone who's closely related, it's impossible to trigger the last bit of feeling left in the clone. However, my clone has been separated for tens of thousands of years. According to the Fox Emperor, this Yin Yang is only in his 20s at most. How could he be my clone's opponent? What's more killing him? However, the reality now is that this Yin Yang is still alive, but my clone is dead. Calculating the moment when my divine sense was severed, it should have been 4 years ago. 4 years ago, this Yin Yang would have just turned 20, or perhaps only 19. This young man, at such a young age, was able to destroy my clone that had been operating in the Tianxian continent for a long time. It's obvious that he's a rare genius. Perhaps I should say, this is the son of the unknown realm, the chosen one. Such a fellow can cause great destruction no matter where he is. His future prospects are limitless. Based on this, even if he only has the cultivation base of a supreme saint now, it's necessary to raise him to the same level. This is because such a chosen one will not only have some innate abilities, but he'll also have too many fortuitous encounters. Even his luck will be 1,000,000 times better than that of ordinary cultivators. If he's not careful, even a Saint Lord would have a hard time capturing him. The Phoenix Emperor's mind was extremely calm at this moment. He began to calculate just from this little bit of familiarity, and his deductions went as far as the eye could see. According to the Crane Emperor, No demon saw him come out after he entered the underground dungeon of Celestial Crown City. But he came out inexplicably. I originally thought that he really was the demon crown prince and had a way to deal with the underground dungeon. But now, it seems that although he's not a demon, he does have a way to deal with the underground dungeon. Also, his ability to transform might not be limited to transforming into other species of mystical beasts. He might even have the ability to turn invisible. Along the way, he was able to bring out a lot of good stuff from the Crane clan, Eagle clan, and Rock clan, and it just so happened that those clans needed it urgently. To do this, other than doing a lot of investigation beforehand, he also needs to have a special ability to deal with this, which is the ability to produce these things. This ability is a little terrifying. You should know that the Rock Emperor and Eagle Emperor didn't just get physical objects, they also had planting methods. But with just a thought, all the spiritual plants turned into ashes, leaving nothing behind. It's really terrifying. After that, he transformed into a wolf demon and took advantage of the loophole in the Demon Emperor's edict to stir up trouble. It's enough to show that this person is bold, meticulous, and decisive. How can an ordinary person be so decisive and make use of every opportunity that comes his way? And once he noticed that the demon clan was reacting strangely, he disappeared immediately. This person's way of doing things is terrifyingly cautious. He's brave, resourceful, and audacious to the extreme. He also possesses the destiny of the Son of the Dimension and the Chosen One, coupled with his unpredictable methods, as well as the ability to accelerate plant growth. If I underestimate such an enemy? The Phoenix Emperor closed his eyes and thought quietly. If I were him, what would I do when faced with such a situation? Where would I go? If I were that yin-yang? The Phoenix Emperor pondered. That intelligent celestial wolf that he had transformed into earlier. Although the direction he went in seemed messy, the actual general direction could still be seen to be towards the Demon Imperial City. This also means that when he realized that he was gradually cornered and had nowhere to go, his choice was to come to the Demon Imperial City, which seemed to be the most dangerous place to look for a chance to escape. The Phoenix Emperor's thoughts were so meticulous that they were as tight as a dragnet. As he pondered, he substituted his own thoughts into yin-yang's, calculating intensely. If I were him, I'd know that I've been exposed when I realized that the Demon Emperor's edict was constantly changing, and the two were vastly different. It'd be inevitable for me to disguise myself and escape at once. Under such circumstances, would I still follow the original plan and come to the Demon Imperial City? Would Yin-Yang consider that there's a wise enemy coveting the Demon Imperial City, making the so-called most dangerous, but actually safest place no longer safe? The Phoenix Emperor hesitated on this question for a long time. His final conclusion was 70%. He judged that there was a 70% chance that Yin-Yang would still come to the Demon Imperial City. However, compared to before the incident with the intelligent celestial wolf, it was a full 30% less. This meant that before that, Yin-Yang would definitely come to the Demon Imperial City. Chapter 13:13. The Phoenix Emperor frowned. Even if he messes up half of the Demon Peacock's realm, it won't be as effective as messing up Demon Peacock City. Only when Demon Peacock City is in chaos will he have the chance to continue fishing in troubled waters. At the very least, he can create a gap and escape. So he'll definitely come before that. But now, it's obvious that this side is on guard, and this person is an extremely cautious person. Then the possibility of him not coming is at least 30%. Therefore, there's at least a 20% chance that he'll go somewhere else, such as my Feng City. Without my presence, Feng City's threat to him will be greatly reduced. What I've thought of, he'll probably be able to think of it as well. It won't be easy. Thinking of this, the Phoenix Emperor could not help feeling a tinge of regret. If he had known that the other party was such a troublesome character, he would have let the matter of the celestial wolf continue for a while longer. Although letting it develop might add millions of demon casualties, it could guarantee that Yin-Yang would definitely enter Demon Peacock City. At that time, as long as the heaven-sealing formation came, he would definitely be able to kill this fiend. Right now, in the eyes of the Phoenix Emperor, even if the number of casualties was increased tenfold, as long as he could kill Yun Yang, it would be worth it. Yes, Yin Yang's value in the Phoenix Emperor's eyes was just that high. Sigh. Even if the demon race uses all their strength, the scope of a heaven-sealing formation that can target a supreme saint's strength can at most seal off a city. There's only one way to keep this human here and get rid of him. Restrict him to a city. Once this strategy is unable to be achieved, there won't be another chance. Thinking of this, the Phoenix Emperor hesitated no more and said, "Send the order. The little demon is here. Send a portrait of Yin Yang to every frontline troop of the Crimson Soul Mountain." These portraits were directly created by the Fox Emperor, using his own soul imprint. Each of them was exactly the same as Yin Yang himself, possessing both form and spirit, and their appearances were exactly the same. Even if Yin Yang saw it himself, he would only feel that he was looking at a mirror. Whoever let this human escape will be punished and punished by the law. This crime cannot be pardoned. Yes. Every clan must send out 3 Saint Sovereign-level experts at the same time they receive the order. They are to gather at the Demon Imperial City within a day. Then, they will be sent to the Blood Soul Mouth to await further orders. Yes. Send the order immediately, at the fastest speed. Yes. The Phoenix Emperor exhaled softly. No matter how powerful you are, I will first seal off all your escape routes. Even if you stay in the demon realm and cause chaos here, as long as you can't leave, I'll catch you sooner or later. After figuring everything out, the Phoenix Emperor left the small house where he was in seclusion and headed to the Demon Imperial Palace. He immediately called for a meeting of all the emperors to report the situation. Is this really necessary? All the demon emperors were in disbelief at the Phoenix Sovereign's suggestion. The other party is just a wholly venerate human. Is there a need to make such a big fuss? Your Majesty Phoenix Emperor, aren't you making a big fuss out of nothing? Yes, it really isn't necessary. Lord Phoenix Sovereign, the amount of demonic power that your plan requires is too extreme. Apart from the Saint Monarchs guarding the Blood Soul Mouth, all the Saint Monarchs of the demon race are gathered in one place. Even we have to participate. Such a battle power is already enough to destroy a country, and such a grand plan is just for a Saint Venerable level human? Phoenix Emperor, are you really not joking? The dozens of emperors from various races who attended the meeting all looked disapproving. Had the Phoenix Emperor lost his mind? A few of them muttered inwardly. Has the Phoenix Emperor, who hasn't participated in battles for years, lost his courage? Facing a human holy venerate cultivator, he's already scared to this extent? Even if a holy venerate cultivator's ability is not to be underestimated, and is considered the pinnacle of combat power in the demon race, if we were to rank the actual combat power, I'm afraid that even the top 5,000 in the demon imperial realm might not be able to match up to that Yun Yang. The Leopard Emperor grinned and shook his head. Phoenix Emperor, Brother Phoenix, how long has it been since you last fought a human? The meaning behind his words was clear and unambiguous. He was accusing the Phoenix Emperor of making a mountain out of a molehill and wasting his demonic energy. Even the Demon Emperor was guffawing from his throne. I say, Brother Phoenix, are you sure you're serious? Just for a human lad like this, you actually… Ha 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 ha. Are you planning to make me die of laughter, so that you can usurp my throne? Ha 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 ha. Following the Demon Emperor's jeering, the rest of the Demon Emperors threw their heads back and guffawed without exception. The Phoenix Emperor, on the other hand, was as calm as the abyss. The Fox Emperor was also deep in thought, not speaking for a long time. The others who did not laugh were the Eagle Emperor, the Rock Emperor, the Eagle Emperor, and the Crane Emperor. The others could laugh heartily, but these 4 emperors did not have the right to laugh. This was especially so for the Eagle Emperor, the Rock Emperor, and the Eagle Emperor. After listening to the Phoenix Emperor's suggestion, and recalling the demonic fox's performance that day, they vaguely felt that the Phoenix Emperor's suggestion was actually very reasonable. The Phoenix Emperor snorted and said faintly, "This matter is decided." As he spoke, he glanced sideways at the Demon Emperor on the throne, and walked up step by step. The Demon Emperor, who was laughing heartily, instantly looked shocked. "Ah, what do you want to do? Come down first," the Phoenix Emperor said in a deep voice. The Demon Emperor stood up. "Brother, this is a meeting. Let's not mess around," the Phoenix Emperor said angrily. "Are you coming down or not?" All the sovereigns below were completely dumbfounded. Although all the demons had experienced great storms, and some of them had even encountered demons who had plotted to usurp the throne and take over the throne, it was definitely the first time that the Phoenix Emperor had done it so openly and without any disguise. "Boss, you're in front of everyone now. How are you going to shut everyone up?" All the demons were waiting for the Demon Emperor's counterattack. Based on their understanding of the Demon Emperor's violent personality, a battle of the century was inevitable. No matter how much the Demon Emperor said that he loved the Phoenix Emperor, he did not care about that. This was a blatant attempt to usurp the throne. The Phoenix Emperor pulled the Demon Emperor down and threw him to the side. She sat on the throne and injected a surge of demonic power into it, taking out the demon jade seal from the throne. Then she stood up and said, "All right, sit down." All the demons were dumbfounded. What was going on? Why didn't the Demon Emperor make a move? He had already taken the Demon Emperor's jade seal. As long as the Phoenix Emperor injected the demonic essence into the jade seal, this usurpation of the throne would come to an end. The Demon Emperor had changed hands. The Demon Emperor was so angry that his nose was in the air. He said coldly, "You want me to sit down just because you want me to? I'm not going to sit down. Look at this seat. You might as well just sit there and not move." All the demons were dumbfounded again. What did the Demon Emperor say? The Phoenix Emperor snorted and stood on the left side of the throne with the jade seal. He said, "I'm not in the mood to talk to you now. I'll just explain a little. If you understand, do it. If you don't understand, you have to do it. If there is any delay, you will be punished with the crime of rebellion. That crime is unpardonable. Now that the Demon Emperor's seal is in my hands, I will stamp it down. Understand, everyone?" All the emperors below were still dumbfounded. Well, what kind of trick was this? The Phoenix Emperor was already so domineering and was about to use the jade seal. Yet, the Demon Emperor didn't care at all and didn't have any intention to stop it. He even stood at the side with a look of grievance on his face. What were you feeling wronged for? The emperors were shocked by the show in front of them. It was as if they had fallen into a fog and didn't know what was going on. Was the demon in front of them still the domineering Demon Emperor, who dominated the world? The eyes of many emperors lit up and gradually became ambiguous. They touched their chins and pondered. These two seemed to have a special relationship. The Phoenix Emperor didn't know what this guy was thinking. If he knew, he would definitely kill this bunch of bastards on the spot. He didn't know how to put in effort when he was doing something serious. He really had a way of blindly thinking. Let me explain. Everyone listen carefully. I will explain this once. Firstly, this person has the ability to change. This kind of transformation ability is not limited to the transformation of ordinary saints and venerables. That kind of transformation is limited to the appearance of others, but the spiritual essence of the body cannot be changed. However, this person's transformation ability has the ability to change the nature of the body. This can be seen from the fact that the Eagle Emperor, the Rock Emperor, and the Eagle Emperor were unable to see through the other party's true body when they were in close contact with him. I speculate that this should be a strange ability that is beyond the knowledge of the past. The Phoenix Emperor's eyes were like lightning. Such a strange ability is very difficult to grasp, and once it is used well, it can only be done by a peerless genius. It can be said that it may not be seen even in 1,000,000 years. Secondly, although this person's cultivation level is only at the Saint Venerate level, he is at most 25 years old. This means that he only used a little over 20 years to advance to the Saint Venerate level. This kind of advancement is not worth paying attention to. I even suspect that this person is a heaven's chosen one of the human world. This time, his actions against the demon race are intentional. Thirdly, this person also has the magical ability to casually create the things that the demon race needs the most. It is also the existence of this ability that allowed his plot to succeed. This is also an extremely magical ability. And to have such an ability, not only has it already surpassed the people of our generation, it is also almost unimaginable. At least, in my opinion, this person is not an exaggeration to be the legendary son of the dimension. Fourthly, this person has thought deeply and planned carefully before taking action. He is reliable in his actions. When he sees that the situation is not good, he does not hesitate at all, and immediately escapes thousands of miles away. He is extremely courageous. If the demon power targeted is not enough, the so-called capture is just a joke. Fifthly, this person has not reached the Saint Venerate level, but he can make the Eagle Emperor, the Rock Emperor, and the other powerful people completely unable to see anything strange about him. If we do not take appropriate measures to target him, I'm afraid that even if he appears in front of us, we may not be able to discover him. Now, is there still any demon that thinks that I have rashly mobilized such a large force and made a mountain out of a molehill? The Phoenix Sovereign spoke slowly bit by bit. The faces of the sovereigns began to turn ugly bit by bit, gradually losing their demonic aura. The Phoenix Sovereign's voice paused for a moment before it rang out indifferently again. Everyone, we have all cultivated step by step from the very beginning. Every single one of you here has cultivated to the level of a Saint Venerable. There's no need to mention how many years it took for any of you here to cultivate to the level of a Saint Venerable. The shortest would probably take at least 2,000 years, wouldn't it? This human brat called Yun Yang is only in his 20s, but he already has the cultivation base of a second-level pinnacle supreme saint. Furthermore, his combat power far exceeds his cultivation base. So many supreme saints have fallen in his hands. How shocking and eye-catching is that? Yun Yang thought to himself. He is in his 20s, at most a few years of cultivation. You don't have to calculate this, do you? Then, you should know how big the gap between you and him is, right? When you were at the pinnacle of a second-level Supreme Saint, have you ever killed a Supreme Saint expert of a higher level than you? Has anyone killed a peak 4th-grade Saint Venerable? Then, who still dares to say that this human named Yun Yang is insignificant and can't even withstand a single blow? How many years do you think it will take for him to become a Supreme Saint? About a few years later, will he be a threat to the safety of everyone here? The sovereign's faces turned pale, looking increasingly unpleasant. Who could say for sure? According to this advancement speed, it might take another 30 to 50 years. But did that person really need 30 to 50 years? Once this person becomes a Supreme Saint, everyone, the demon race will be in deep trouble. The Phoenix Sovereign's voice became heavy. What is a Heaven's Chosen One? What is a Dimension's Child? Everyone, let me give you an example. The Phoenix Sovereign cupped her hands towards the void. Back then, Lord Monkey Ancestor, who established this continent for the demon race and made an agreement with the rulers of the heavens, was a Heaven's Chosen One. The sovereigns were shocked. Those rulers of the heavens, the gods of creation, are also Heaven's Chosen One. The Phoenix Sovereign said faintly, as for us, we may be the chosen one or the heroes of a region, but we are not Heaven's Chosen One. The level that a Heaven's Chosen One can reach is a height that we dare not even imagine. In your imagination, a cultivator who is only a second-level Supreme Saint now, no matter how hard he strives to improve, would still need at least 30 to 50 years to reach the level of a Supreme Saint. What I want to say is that if he is determined to improve, he won't need such a long time at all. It could be 8 to 10 years or 3 to 5 years, or even a year and a half, and he could take a huge step forward as a Heaven's Chosen One. This is the Heaven's Chosen One's innate destiny, fortuitous encounter, and everything that goes beyond the understanding of ordinary people. Here, I can also say with absolute certainty that if this human named Yun Yang is not captured or killed by us this time, then the one who will annihilate the demon race in the future will definitely be this person. As long as this person lives, there will be a day when the billions of citizens of the demon peacock realm will be slaughtered by him. The extinction of the demon race is definitely not a joke. Now, does anyone have any questions or objections? The Phoenix Sovereign's gaze swept across the sovereigns below. Chapter 13-14. No more. All the sovereigns shook their heads. I hope that everyone will buck up. Fight this battle as your last. If we can't catch Yin Yang, we'll all die. We must have such thoughts. At the same time, everyone must remember one thing. Although the Heaven's Chosen One has extraordinary luck, it doesn't mean that we can't kill him. After all, his true strength is still below ours. This is our last chance. The future of the demon race will depend on this battle. The Phoenix Sovereign said solemnly. Next, announce the decree. The sovereigns bowed and accepted the order. 3 days later, we will conduct a full search of the demon imperial city. After 7 days of searching, we will gradually lower our guard and create the illusion that most of the saint sovereigns have returned to their old haunt. After that, all the demons must secretly return within a limited time. A month later, I will activate the sky sealing formation, seal the target star and land, as well as all demonic chi, mystical chi and spiritual chi. The Phoenix Sovereign made the final decision. The sky sealing formation? This? Up above, the demon emperor frowned and asked on behalf of the other emperors. Once this great sky sealing formation is activated, all the demons in the entire demon imperial city will have to remain unable to transform for at least 3,000 years, and will not be able to return to their human forms. This price, isn't it too heavy? Also, once the sky sealing formation is activated, the demonic chi that has been integrated into it can't return. All the sovereign's cultivation base will drop a little. This is an extreme move that hurts oneself before hurting the enemy. Won't the price be too high? Just because a human can't transform in Demon Peacock City, you're doing something like this. Even though they understood the Phoenix Sovereign's concerns, the sovereigns still felt their teeth ache. The Phoenix Sovereign's plan was undoubtedly perfect. As long as the human was in the city, or entered the city after the sky sealing formation was activated, the other party would immediately reveal himself. No matter how amazing the transformation technique was, there was no way to hide within the sky sealing formation. All external forces would be sealed within the body. Apart from being able to use them in battle, all other methods would be useless. At this time, a sovereign grinned and said, once the sky sealing formation is activated, I believe that the human can be captured in less than an hour. But for this hour, we'll have to pay the heavy price of at least 3,000 years in Demon Peacock City. This TSK. The Phoenix Emperor's gaze was like lightning. Executed immediately. The Demon Emperor's great seal suddenly descended. The Phoenix Sovereign held the Demon Emperor's seal in her hand, and her eyes shot toward all the sovereigns in the hall. She said word by word, I'll still say the same thing. If something happens to anyone, think about it yourself. These words were filled with killing intent. All the sovereigns went out to make arrangements. The Fox Monarch frowned and asked, Brother Feng, are you really going to seal the heavenly demon imperial city? The Phoenix Emperor's gaze was deep, and he said, Brother Fox, what I want is only to gather the power of the great sky sealing formation. As for which city to seal, it still depends on the situation. Looking at it now, the demon imperial city is the most likely, but we cannot deny that there are other possibilities. As long as the sky sealing grand formation has all the power it needs, when the time comes, we'll seal wherever this human is. Right now, I just hope that this human doesn't move 10,000 kilometers away. The Fox Emperor nodded. He could understand. The sky sealing array was formed by saints. To saint experts, 10,000 miles was just a breath's time. However, if it was beyond this range, there would be many first-grade saints who could not make it in time. If that was the case, the sky sealing formation would become a joke. How could one seal the sky without enough power? I also feel that this child Yin Yang is extremely daring, and will definitely move around Demon Imperial City. He might even enter the city. The Phoenix Sovereign nodded slowly, and his gaze was unpredictable. Yin Yang knew nothing about all this. He had already come to the boundary of 3,000 miles away from Demon Imperial City. And the closer they got to the Demon Imperial City, the more demons came and went, and the denser they got. When they reached this area, the number of demons on the road every day was already as dense as a market. I have to say that the population of the demon race is much more than that of the humans in the bound of universe. Yin Yang sighed inwardly. Yin Yang sighed in his heart. At this moment, he was soaring high up in the sky, turning into a gust of wind as he observed the demon imperial city in front of him. He had only observed it for a moment, but he vaguely felt a little uncomfortable. This discomfort gave Yin Yang an inexplicable sense of wariness. The demon race must have found some way to deal with me? Or perhaps, there is already a trap set for me in Demon Imperial City? However, when he sensed it carefully, he could not find anything. I'll go check out the situation outside Demon Imperial City first. I'll stop when I'm about 200 miles away. I'm a little nervous about the direction of the wind. It's best to be careful. Yin Yang checked his current state again, and after careful consideration, he turned into a skunk demon. This fellow was definitely one of the lower 9 classes among the demon race. The skunk demon that Yin Yang had turned into was especially sloppy, almost filthy to the extreme. His body hair was messy from head to toe, and it looked like he had not bathed for at least 3 to 5 years. A thick stench lingered all over him. No matter where he went, other demons would cover their noses in disgust and retreat quickly, afraid that they would be affected by the skunk's stench. This identity is not bad. Yin Yang evaluated the skunk in his heart before he headed straight for the Demon Imperial City with an indescribable stench that was no worse than the other skunks he had encountered. Now he could not get out. Even if it was a mountain of blades in front of him, he had to go and take a look. To Yin Yang, who loved to look good, his current state was definitely a terrifying image that could not be tolerated. For this trip to Demon Imperial City, Yin Yang was going all out. He was going all out. I'm already here. If I don't go and take a look, I won't be satisfied. It took Yin Yang less than a day to rush to the demonic Imperial City. When he saw the majestic Demon Imperial City, the towering city walls that were thousands of feet tall, and the gigantic city gate that he had never seen before, Yin Yang had an inexplicable feeling. Yin Yang had an inexplicable feeling that the city gate was like the dark mouth of a primordial beast. Once he went in, he would be swallowed whole, and there would be no chance for him to come out. This feeling made him very uncomfortable. When he entered Peng City, Crane City, Eagle City, and many other imperial cities, he did not feel this way. Even when he was escorted in by the imperial guards, he was still full of confidence, thinking that even if there was an accident, he could still escape safely. This time, however, when he came to the gates of Demon Imperial City, Yin Yang felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. This was a feeling that he had never felt before. And it was also a premonition. It was commonly known as the sixth sense. This kind of feeling sounded mysterious and illogical, but both humans and beasts had this feeling. The only difference was that some people were very sensitive to it, while others were not. Some people didn't think much of it when they felt it, and they just thought that they were making a fuss out of nothing, because of their own suspicions. However, those who felt this strongly were all elites among men, geniuses of this world. If a civil official had this kind of sensitivity, he could dominate the imperial court and stand undefeated. If a military general had this kind of feeling, he could be invincible, undefeatable, and decisive. Even if he were to lose occasionally, he would not fall into the enemy's sinister ambush, and there would always be a chance of survival. Yin Yang was so familiar with this sense of danger that he was able to handle it with ease. Therefore, when he had this feeling, he immediately stopped in his tracks, forcefully suppressing his previous dissatisfaction and indignation. A few miles away from the city gate, he laid down quietly. Even if a dirty and smelly skunk were to suddenly crawl on the ground, who would care? Most of the demons thought that this fellow had no way out and was begging here. Almost none of the demons took a second look at him. After all, the lingering stench on this demon was too overwhelming. It was only right to cover one's mouth and nose and leave in disgust. If one were to be tainted by the foul odor, that would be bad. Yin Yang stayed in this area with Demon Imperial City as the end point for 10 consecutive days. Actually, from the second day onwards, Yin Yang had vaguely known the source of his ominous feeling. He could clearly feel countless overbearing auras coming from all directions. There were hundreds of Saint Lords flying into the Demon Peacock City at different times. With such a scale of deific consciousness and soul search, Yun Yang could not guarantee that he would not make a mistake if he were in the city. Once a mistake was made, he would die without a doubt. No matter how many trump cards Yun Yang had, it was still all for naught. Before absolute power, everything was just empty words. However, what truly shocked Yun Yang was the overall strength of the demon race. This scale was at least a lineup of hundreds of Saint Lords, although there were not many who had actually reached the advanced level. And the strongest was probably still slightly weaker than the Fox Emperor. This was the level of Saint Lords. If Saint Venerable Cultivators were already the pinnacle of combat power in the Bound of Universe, then Saint Lords were the pinnacle of combat power in the Bound of Universe. Furthermore, this was only a portion. Yun Yang guessed that the ones who had come now were most likely only half of all the Saint Lords in the demon race. There were still the 7 great mouths of blood souls that needed to be guarded. A considerable number of Saint Lords had to be left behind to guard that area. It was an essential defense. The demon race's capability is terrifyingly strong. I wonder how many Saint Lords there are in the human race. Judging from the numbers alone, I'm afraid it's not optimistic. Regarding this, Yun Yang had no idea at all. After all, his knowledge of the human clan experts was even less than that of the demon clan perhaps. It should be said that even in the entire Bound of Universe, there were only a handful who could compare to Yun Yang's understanding of the demon race. Starting from the second night, Saint Lords who had already entered the city suddenly flew up into the sky and dashed everywhere with the sound of rumbling wind and thunder. When they came, they made such a huge commotion. When they left, they made such a huge commotion. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to show off their power and presence? Yun Yang frowned. This isn't right. It can't be that the Saint Lords of the demon race don't even have the ability to conceal their auras and sneak in and out. This is impossible. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are this high profile, but it doesn't make sense that all of them are doing the same. Yun Yang rolled his eyes. There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. Right now all I see are demons. Even I am a demon. On the 3rd day, there were still many Saint Lords who came and left at the same time. Overall, however, the number of Saint Lords who came was far more than those who left. In other words, the number of Saint Lords who stayed in Demon Peacock City was much higher than the first day. Yun Yang, who was far away from the city, did not even dare to breathe heavily, afraid that he would be discovered by the Saint Lords. During this period of time, there were indeed many Saint Lords who flew past Yun Yang's location at high speed. It would be strange if Yun Yang could relax. On the 5th day, the heaven and earth were suddenly stirred up, and thunder rumbled. Then, the hundreds of Saint Lords who were originally stationed here split into 4 directions, and left Demon Peacock City, in a group as ostentatiously as they could. Along the way, they searched with their divine senses. Wherever they passed, even if it was an ant on the ground, it would be scanned. The rumbling of wind and thunder spread in all directions. The situation was clear and obvious. They were obviously searching for some target. Yun Yang lay on the ground. His heart that had been hanging high in his throat relaxed as a smirk appeared at the corners of his lips. If my guess is correct, the series of actions these few days were all done for me to see? Do you want me to think that there is no one in Demon Peacock City, and then enter the city? Now that things had come to this, even if Yun Yang used his buttocks to think, he would be able to figure out that there must be an extremely dangerous trap in this Demon Peacock City. You've gone overboard. Why do you have to go through so much trouble for your own subjects? Yun Yang patted his buttocks and stood up. Since you guys have done this, it proves that you can't determine this young master's location at all. This young master is not going to play along in the face of a death trap. Yun Yang had already begun to walk slowly in the opposite direction. Along the way, he still left behind a trail of the sour stench of a skunk, which was still nauseating. After walking for about 7 to 8 miles, the wind and clouds rose in the south again. A metallic voice hollered, "We've captured the demon fox's accomplices." A large flying team of white cranes flew over from the horizon. In their steel-like claws, there were a few demons caught in their claws. Yun Yang's pupil shrank at once. That was White Bear, White Crane, Ninth Heaven Crane, and all the other demons, not a single one missing. Even the tree demon was among them, uprooted. When they reached a position not far from Demon Peacock City, the experts of the Crane clan purposely slowed down their flying speed and passed slowly. Wherever they passed, droplets of blood fell from the sky. White Bear and the rest had contorted faces and were bathed in blood. It was obvious that they had suffered considerable torture after being captured. When they arrived at the city gate, the experts of the Crane clan did not enter the city directly, but stopped at the gate and began to recite the many crimes of White Bear and the rest of the demons to the people. These 3,000 demons have colluded with the evil fox demon to harm the demon race. Their crimes are heinous. His Majesty the Demon King has decreed that after 7 days, they will be executed by 1,000 cuts. Their souls will not be allowed to reincarnate, and they will be imprisoned in the demonic soul prison forever. Day and night, they will be burned by the soul-burning fire, until their souls are destroyed. Beside him, a demon clicked his tongue. These fellows are doomed. The soul-burning fire is not as simple as simply burning the soul, but it destroys the demon's soul bit by bit. Even an ordinary demon's soul can be burned for 10 years, and a supreme saint will be tortured for at least thousands or tens of thousands of years. This punishment is the demon race's highest punishment, not to be used on non-traitors. Yun Yang's expression darkened. Looking at the sky again, he had an inexplicable feeling in his heart. In the end, he still couldn't escape. White Bear has been captured. What do you all want Yun Yang to do? GT. Chapter 13-15. Yun Yang's gaze was solemn. Perhaps he could ignore Crane Jiutian and the rest of the demons. He could even ignore the demons they had contacted. They were just an extension of his plan, and their deaths were not to be regretted. However, White Bear and the rest of the 7 bears. Was it possible for him to watch them suffer and die in front of his eyes? This is my cause and effect. Yun Yang asked himself. Can I leave this cause and effect behind? Logically speaking, we're not of the same race. Even if I save them today, it'll be hard to avoid a life-and-death battle when we meet on the battlefield in the future. It's a foregone conclusion that the two races can't coexist. There's no turning back. Then, should I let go and deal with the current situation with a foolproof plan? As long as I leave, the road ahead will be smooth. However, if I don't do something, I won't feel comfortable and I'll feel guilty. White Bear and the rest of the demons have treated me with sincerity. Now that they're about to meet their doom, am I really going to stand by and do nothing? Yun Yang's heart was heavy. He knew that the only result of him taking action was to be exposed, and there was a 99% chance that he would not be able to save White Bear and the rest of the demons. Instead, he would be implicated. They were mortal enemies, and they would stand against each other, but he could not get over it. Instead of watching them suffer in agony or die a rare death, it's better for me to end their lives. At least they can be sent on a quick and painless journey. Once the thought arose, it became an unstoppable force. No, even if I destroy their physical bodies, I can't take their souls away. They'll still have to suffer the soul-burning fire, and I can't bring their souls away or destroy them entirely. Yun Yang stared at the sky quietly, speechless for a long time. In the sky, the Crane Saint's words were still ringing like thunder. All demons shall take this as a warning. The white crane soared through the sky, its wings covering the sky as it flew slowly towards the city. Yun Yang tried his best to control his emotions, watching the Crane clan's experts leave until they entered the Demon Peacock City. His gaze was still on them. It was destined that he could not save their lives. But was there a chance to save their souls? It looked like he had to make a trip to this Demon Peacock City no matter what. Yun Yang's gaze was determined. Before deciding whether or not to do something, he would hesitate and consider the pros and cons, as well as the risks involved. However, once he decided to do it, he would never consider giving up halfway. The only thing to consider was how to succeed. Demon Soul Hell. I should first find out where this place is. Perhaps this is the only place that can give me a chance to escape. The skunk that Yun Yang had turned into was still shrouded in a terrifying stench as he left the Demon Imperial City's city gate. After a dozen more identities, Yin Yang transformed into a little cat demon. Originally, the cat demon had never been within the scope of Yin Yang's plan to transform. However, whether it was a coincidence or not, Yin Yang was shocked to find the remaining survivors of the Nine Lives Demon Cat clan in this small city 300 miles away from Demon Imperial City. This small group of Nine Lives Demon Cat clan survivors were naturally extremely skilled in order to survive and protect themselves. They even disguised themselves as tiger demons and leopard demons. However, this layer of camouflage might be difficult for other demons to distinguish, but Yin Yang carried by Bingshuan's worry. It was difficult to form the unique cultivation method of the Nine Lives Demon Cat clan, not to mention by Bingshuan's Nine Lives Demon Cat clan's royal aura, which made it even more precious. With this worry as a medium, and by Bingshuan's soul attached to it, it was the highest symbol of the Nine Lives Demon Cat clan's royal members. It could not be imitated or replaced. Therefore, when Yin Yang saw this group of sneaky cat demons, his eyes lit up like a ray of light in the fog. If he remembered correctly, wasn't the legendary Nine Lives Demon Cat Emperor suppressed in the Demon Soul Hell? If he had an additional Saint Lord Pinnacle fighter as a fighter, or at least as a reinforcement, his chances of winning this battle would be greatly increased. If he only had a 50% chance before, he now had at least a 10% chance. Well, with the enemy's lineup, a 10% chance was already a lot. At the right time, a Saint Lord level tiger demon strode into a small city. Without any explanation, it was sent to the largest room of the inn under the attitude of the inn's owner, who was welcoming his ancestor. At night, a cat of torture snuck out of the inn. It was dirty all over like a stray cat. It flashed in the shadows and disappeared. A Saint Lord leopard demon strode into the small city. At night a kitten. Late at night. It was the middle of the night. One by one, kittens scurried on the streets as fast as shooting stars. They flashed by, almost invisible to the naked eye. After a while, there were already countless kittens gathered in one place. It was just that this small city was really not big, and there were no high-level cultivators guarding it. Naturally, this little movement did not attract the attention of any demons. There was a large mansion in this city. The original owner of this place was a Saint Lord level demon, with the bloodline of the Dragon clan. This person only had the bloodline of the Dragon clan, but he was not a pure-blooded descendant of the Dragon clan. In other words, this person was a descendant of the Dragon clan, who had achieved success outside. Non-pure-blooded descendants of the Dragon clan were not allowed to enter the Dragon City, and they were not recognized. They could only be scattered everywhere. If they were favored by the Dragon Father, they could still be looked after to a certain extent. If it was just the product of a one-night stand, it was normal to completely ignore it. And this descendant was the kind who had bad luck. His Dragon clan father had obviously long forgotten his Wolf clan mother, who had once spoiled him. If it was not for the fact that his cultivation was not mediocre, and that he had the appearance of a dragon head and a wolf body, which helped him avoid a lot of trouble, he might not even be able to maintain his current life. For so many years, this fellow's deterrence towards outsiders was just one sentence. "You dare to bully me? I'll ask my father to beat you to death." In fact, he had not even seen his father's face. What's more, in his heart, he actually wanted to beat his Dragon clan father to death. The wolf dragon, who was already living a difficult life, encountered the Nine Lives cat demons who were in trouble, and gradually became an offline. Now, in the underground palace of the Lord Wolf Dragon's mansion, there were already thousands of cat demons gathered. This group of cat demons looked like stray cats, squatting, sitting, lying down, and very obedient. They clustered together, not even meowing. Although there were many of them, their size was too small, and they only occupied 1% of the space of the underground palace. One after another, stray cats were still scurrying over from all corners. Such gatherings were probably not limited to just one, and the gathering process was very orderly. Every cat knew where they were supposed to sit, and which row they were supposed to sit in, so there was no chaos at all. At this time in the front row, there were already 5 kittens squatting there. Although the appearance of these kittens did not look much different from the other cats, Each of them squinted their eyes and did not move at all. Even though they had hidden their breath, the dignified air of being in a superior position was still emitted spontaneously. After a long time, "How many are here?" the kitten in the middle asked with its eyes closed. Another one whispered, "More than 3,000. Almost." The one in the middle had its eyes closed and said bleakly, "After so many years, there are really not many brothers who can still come back." The one furthest at the edge said angrily, "All these years, that demon emperor has never given up on hunting and killing our 9 Lives cat clan. We have been hiding here and there, and being able to maintain the current scale is already." At this point, it did not continue speaking, and could not help but sigh. The cats were a little sad, and some even faintly choked with sobs. The 9 Lives cat clan, which had been flourishing for a time, was now no longer prosperous, and had declined to the extreme. Thinking back, the 9 Lives cat clan could almost be counted as the largest clan in the demon realm. "In another hour, we will officially start." The one in the middle sighed deeply. "This time, it is a heaven-sent opportunity." The inexplicable demon fox appeared out of nowhere and caused chaos in the demon realm. "We must take this opportunity to rescue His Majesty. If we still do not succeed this time, perhaps this is the fate of our 9 Lives cat clan. Might as well throw this life over there." He sighed softly, and his voice was indescribably bleak. At this moment, the clansman in charge of guarding outside suddenly shouted in a low and stern voice, "Who are you?" What followed was a soft meow. Meow. Although this meow was extremely gentle, all the demon cats inside suddenly had their hair standing on end. They turned their heads in unison, and their ferocious gazes focused in the direction of the door. For so many years, they had to disguise themselves as outsiders in other places. Even in this gathering of their clansmen, they were still frighteningly cautious. Who is it that dared to so brazenly make a move? This was an act of courting death. If their tracks were exposed, wouldn't they implicate everyone? Elder, this. A small cat flew in, and its expression was conflicted. "There is a strange cat outside." The elder's gaze was cold and sharp. "Kill. Kiki. But this cat has the aura of royalty." The guard stammered. "Royalty's aura?" The 5 cats in the first row stood up in unison, and suddenly turned their heads. The one in the middle took a deep breath and said, "Which royalty's aura is it?" It's the aura of our 9 Lives cat clan's royalty." The cat who came to report was also trembling all over, not knowing whether it was excitement or fear. For a moment, they didn't know what to say. At this moment, the eyes of all the cats lit up at the same time. "Royalty's aura. Our 9 Lives demon cat clan's royalty's aura?" Under the watchful eyes of everyone, a variegated cat with yellow and white fur came in adorably all the way. However, as soon as the newcomer came in, he was suddenly placed in this extremely quiet hall. Thousands of kittens uniformly focused their scrutinizing gazes, and he couldn't help but tremble a little. This was definitely not because he was afraid, but because he was surprised. A group of cats. A really big group. Usually, in the Bound of Universe or the Tianxian continent, 4 or 5 cats together would be enough to turn the world upside down. It was a spectacular sight. But now, there were thousands of cats gathered together, and yet they did not make much noise. No, there wasn't even a cry at all. It was completely quiet. How could it not be surprising? Meow, Leader Yun subconsciously meowed. Although it was a very tender meow, it woke up the silent atmosphere here. Suddenly hearing this meow, all the cats' eyes became moist. They hadn't heard such a pure and unscrupulous meow for a long time. It was so touching. But didn't this meaningless meow only come out unintentionally at the moment when the cat's emotions were surging to the peak? Why was this cat in front of them with a calm face, and doing it casually? What did it mean? Is this bastard even part of our tribe? How could the cats of our clan usually meow so lasciviously? Different from the other kittens, there were 5 cats in the first row. 5 pairs of eyes were like thunder and lightning, staring at the little guy who had just come in. The other party had the aura of the royalty. This was certain. The aura of the bloodline was even more obvious, and there was no doubt about it. Everything was right. But why did it look so abnormal and unusual? This subtle feeling that something was wrong. Where did it come from? No matter how much they hoped that the royalty of their clan was still chaste, standing in front of them, the 5 cats, who were high-level cultivators, suppressed the excitement in their hearts. They wanted to see the cat's background. Their instincts as cultivators told them that the cat that was coming was probably not that simple. This matter was definitely not simple. Close the door. Kakaka. The passageway leading to the outside suddenly emitted a wave of dark fog. In an instant, it turned into an incomparably strong black iron barrier, isolating this secret room from the outside world. With this barrier, even if a wholly venerable attacked, it could still resist for a while. There was still some room to maneuver. Just as the entire hall was plunged into darkness, a ray of light lit up. That was the sudden appearance of thousands of night pearls. At the same time, they emitted a bright brilliance, illuminating the large space as if it was daytime. Everything could be seen clearly. As a result, the view in the secret room became clearer. With the addition of this barrier, all the cats subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief and spread out. They only put some distance between themselves and their companions, but there was still little noise. Just as Yin Yang was wondering what the cats were up to, he felt his vision blur. In the blink of an eye, thousands of people had appeared in front of him. There were men and women among these thousands of people. The men were handsome, and the women were pretty. Even though Yin Yang was born with a penchant for beauty, and his looks were indeed outstanding, he had to admit that these people before him were the cream of the crop in terms of appearance. They were only slightly inferior to him. The 5 people at the front were the most eye-catching. One was domineering, one was handsome, one was innocent, one was as cold as frost, and one was seductive. The 2 men and 3 women in front of him each had their own auras. Although they were different, they were all outstanding in their own fields. Yun Yang could not help exclaiming that the 9 Lives Cat Clan's genes were really good. At least in terms of appearance, they were almost catching up to him. They were simply too outstanding. In the middle of the 3 women and 2 men was a lady dressed in white, who was as calm as a fairy. Her cold gaze was trained on Yun Yang. Transform and let me see. Her tone was straightforward. The meaning of her words even more direct, pointing to the crux of the matter. Yun Yang was still in the form of a cute kitten. Upon hearing the lady's words, he quickly reverted to his original form. When the handsome young master in purple appeared, the eyes of the cats lit up, exclaiming that he was of royal blood indeed. If his appearance was outstanding, he was actually above them. Yin Yang himself heaved a long sigh of relief. He had finally transformed back. I've been so dirty during this period of time. Now I know that I'm actually a neat freak. And Appleton apt. Chapter 13-16. After a short moment of silence, a storm of questions poured in like a torrential storm. Royalty. The royal bloodline that we sent out. By Bingxian. Evidence. Aura. It did not take long for the questions to be answered. Yun Yang had long made up his mind to come to the demonic race. He knew Bai Bingshuan's personal situation like the back of his hand. He had confirmed it again and again. If he encountered the descendants of the 9 Lives Cat clan, he would only stop when it was absolutely safe. Therefore, when faced with the questions raised by the cat race, he answered them fluently without any hesitation. Yun Yang even used the mystical art of deific consciousness to show the living conditions of Bai Bingxian and the felines in the residence of 9 Supremes vividly. May I ask if you are a member of the 9 Lives Cat clan or a human cultivator? The lady in white asked. I am a human cultivator, Yun Yang said honestly. The turmoil in the demonic race is all caused by me. Yun Yang continued, to see if there's a chance to save the cat ancestor. As soon as these words were uttered, all the felines wore an interesting expression on their faces. They had wanted to use this unexpected opportunity to save the cat ancestor, but they did not expect the culprit of this accident to be one of their own. Was this a coincidence or not? The lady in white kept quiet for a while, calculating in her mind. Suddenly gaining Yin Yang's aid meant that her side's capability had increased tremendously. If that was the case, the plan that had been set could be further adjusted and changed, increasing the chances of success. The only thing to consider now was Yin Yang's background. What Yin Yang said, including the royal aura on him, was obviously true and could not be faked. Currently, this human called Yin Yang was almost the enemy of the entire demonic race. This situation was no different from them. Just based on this, they were bound by a common enemy and could be trusted. However, while Yin Yang's enemies could be trusted, correspondingly, would his arrival cause them to be implicated by the countless demonic race who were pursuing Yin Yang? As the only second-grade Saint Monarch in the Nine Lives Cat clan, she had to look at the bigger picture and avoid any possibility that could lead to the destruction of the Nine Lives Cat clan. The name of this second-grade Saint Monarch was very frightening. Tuntin the Cat. That was her name. Although the name seemed a little childish, the name of the Lady Heaven Devouring Cat was famous even in the entire demon realm. Back then, the strongest general under the Nine Lives Demon Cat's command was not a man, but this Lady Heaven Devouring Cat. This cat lady looked weak and had a cold temperament, but once she entered a battle, she was the most daring, decisive, ruthless, and merciless. Slaughtering thousands of demons was a piece of cake for her. The other two feline women were Tuntin's twin sisters. They were Kitty Eat and Kitty Fill. It wasn't hard to imagine how much of a glutton the parents of the three sisters were back then. As they chatted and became familiar with each other, Yin Yang took it for granted and naturally asked for their names to facilitate communication. However, just as he asked, he saw the three cat demons in front of him change their expressions. 3 pairs of pretty eyes were trained on him, as if they wanted to devour him alive. Yin Yang was anxious. After all, he didn't seem to have said anything wrong when he thought back to his actions. He was only asking for their names. There was no deeper meaning behind it. Was there anything wrong with that? However, at the next moment, Tuntin the Cat. Swallow as in devouring heaven. Tuntin explained, still blushing. Kitty Eat. Eat as in eating. Kitty Fill. That's Phil. The corners of Yin Yang's lips twitched instinctively. Cough, I've heard so much about you. Yin Yang's polite words were stuck for the first time. He didn't manage to utter any pleasantries, such as your reputation is better than meeting you in person. The 3 sisters on the other side were also embarrassed and speechless for a long time. You can just call us Great Elder, Second Elder, and Third Elder. We're more used to it. Tuntin coughed dryly. It was a second-level Saint Monarch after all. It adjusted its emotions quickly and spoke to ease the awkward situation. Yin Yang coughed dryly and bowed to them one by one, saying, Great Elder, Second Elder, Third Elder. The 3 ladies nodded reservedly and hummed in acknowledgement. You're a human. Where did you come from, and how did you get here? How are Bai Bingxian and the rest after they escaped? After confirming Yin Yang's identity, the felines had even more questions. These felines were like curious babies, their questions endless and endless, causing Yin Yang's veins to bulge from their barrage of questions. Wasn't the main issue now how to save the cat ancestor? What was the point of all of them asking? Was it the main point? After a while, Tuntin, with its strong willpower, sighed and said, Since the descendants of the imperial family still have bloodlines in the outside world, and are living very well, we can rest assured. If we don't succeed and everyone dies here, there's nothing to regret. Yin Yang knew that things were not looking good. The felines were obviously hopeless against reality. Instead of saying that they were planning to save the cat ancestor amidst the chaos, they did not have much hope at all. They did not even have the slightest hope. How could such an attitude be the basis for success? Well, everyone, I think the hope of us saving the cat ancestor is still very high. Yin Yang said, To be honest, even if I didn't meet all of you this time, I would have acted alone and tried my best to save the cat ancestor. Now that I've met all of you, it's like we've both received a great help. It's the heavens that foretells our success this time. Tuntin glanced at Yin Yang and said noncommittally, Then what do you plan to do? Do you have any countermeasures? Yin Yang said, I've just arrived. It's too much of a fantasy to talk about what to do now. You're the local tyrants. You should be prepared. As for me, as long as I can confirm the exact location of the demonic soul prison, I can proceed to the next step. Not only do we know the location of the demonic soul prison, we even know where the cat ancestor is being imprisoned. However, there's a key that we can't solve: the guards guarding the cat ancestor. It's not something we can break through. Even with you, esteemed guest, it's still futile. After the initial excitement, Tunton and the other elders regained their composure. Weighing the current situation, they quickly came to a conclusion. Even with Yin Yang, it would not help the overall situation. After all, he was only a second-grade supreme saint. What he could do was limited. Yin Yang was not offended and said seriously, "I think I need to know about your original plan. If I hadn't come, what would you have done? What's the percentage?" Once the question was asked, Tunton and the other felines' faces darkened, looking rather distressed. "We originally planned to," Tunton stuttered. "We planned to expose a portion of our people. Based on the demon's impression of us, they'll definitely kill us at once. Although this portion of our people will inevitably be sacrificed, we can still create a certain degree of chaos. Then, another portion of our people will charge into the demonic soul prison and kill with all their might. If we can meet up with the cat ancestor, we'll have a chance to kill our way out and escape." "Huh? That's the plan? What if you can't kill your way in?" "If we can't?" Tunton's gaze flickered. After so many years of struggling at death's door, everyone is actually exhausted. After so many years, there's no hope at all. If it wasn't for this unexpected incident that caused an unprecedented upheaval, I'm afraid we'll continue wasting our time. If this goes on, our race will probably perish naturally. Yin Yang heaved a sigh. According to such a crude plan, Yin Yang was 100% sure that there was no hope of success. It would only be suicide. However, your plan isn't completely impossible. For example, you can still charge in to rescue the cat ancestor, but you still have to consider your subsequent movements. You can't leave everything to fate. If you want to escape successfully, you'll need the cat ancestor's strength. However, the cat ancestor has been imprisoned for so long, I believe his cultivation base must be restrained by some kind of arcane art. Do you have any way to lift the seal? Isn't restoring the cat ancestor's strength the key to this trip? Yin Yang asked. Tunton blushed and said, "We're not prepared for this. What we know now is only the location where Lord Cat Ancestor is imprisoned, but we don't know how he's being controlled." Yin Yang was dumbfounded. What Great Elder means is that you have no feasible plan at all. The so-called rescue is just to charge in and die together. Tunton coldly snorted, raising her eyebrows. "We three sisters, as His Majesty's concubines and elders of the clan, can't save His Majesty from danger. What face do we have to drag out an ignoble existence?" Yin Yang was stunned. Bai Bingxian had never mentioned anything about this. These three beautiful and powerful cat ladies were actually the Nine Lives Cat Ancestor's concubines? This Lord Cat Ancestor was not only blessed with love, but his partner was someone with a heart. Then I'll ask one more thing. If this trip goes smoothly and Lord Cat Ancestor is successfully rescued, where will you go after this? I believe the Demon Emperor won't leave such a formidable enemy like the Cat Ancestor outside. Will he? Yin Yang asked cautiously. Everyone was clear-minded enough to understand the meaning behind Yin Yang's words at once. Yin Yang had pointed out the entire situation, and had even attributed the ultimate difficulty to one word: standpoint. The meaning behind Yin Yang's words was obvious. Everyone's current goals were the same. Of course, he could help them, but if they succeeded and rescued the Cat Ancestor, what would be their standpoint in the future? Would they still choose to stand on the side of the demon race, or against them? I understand sect leader Yun's meaning very well. Tunton said faintly. For so many years, the Nine Lives Cat clan has long given up hope. Whether it's towards the Demon Emperor or the Demon Realm, we no longer have the slightest bit of attachment. We're even ashamed that we've once served the Demon Emperor. If we can rescue the Cat Ancestor this time, we're willing to change sides and annihilate the demon race. Of course, this is the conclusion that we, the clansmen, have come to after discussion. As for what Lord Cat Ancestor plans to do after escaping, we can't come to a conclusion. We dare not guarantee anything on behalf of His Majesty. The words were extremely sincere and reasonable. Yin Yang nodded slowly. In this short period of time, he had already gone through a lot of twists and turns in his heart. His original purpose of coming to the demon realm had actually been accomplished a long time ago, much more than he had expected. However, the realm of demonic beasts' capabilities had far exceeded Yin Yang's expectations. It was far, far more than Yin Yang had expected. He had to think of a way to reduce the demon race's overall capability, and stirring up internal conflict among them was naturally the best way. Otherwise, why did you think Yin Yang had gone through so much trouble to single out the races of the characters? It was to lock the demon race as his target. With the Fox Emperor's token as a bargaining chip, he could further confirm that there was something wrong with the Fox Emperor. It could be said that if the Phoenix Emperor had not intervened and turned the tide, with Elder Azure Dragon's murder of the Fox Crown Prince as a trigger, the entire Fox clan might have really turned against the demon race. Now, Yin Yang had shifted his target to the Cat Ancestor. The Cat Ancestor was different from the Fox Emperor. His hatred towards the demon race was much greater. As long as he rescued the Cat Ancestor, it would be equivalent to burying a major hidden danger that could erupt from time to time in the demon race. To the human race, this was definitely a win-win situation. Yin Yang even had a deeper consideration for the demon race. The environment where the demon race resided was completely unsuitable for humans to live in. Even if the demon race could be completely annihilated, the demon race's territory would be useless to humans. Of course, with the demon race's capability and population, it would be an even more unrealistic dream to say that they could annihilate all of the demon race. In that case, if the humans were to cultivate a portion of the demon race as allies to control the demon race's situation, it could be considered and even worked towards. Yin Yang's mind raced as he nodded slowly and said, "I understand now. Great Elder is being honest. Of course it is the truth. May I ask what sect leader Yun's original plan is? Or perhaps, what is the purpose of coming to the demon race? Perhaps we can provide assistance in some aspects." Yin Yang chuckled humorlessly and said, "The human race and the demon race are on opposing sides. The first purpose of my trip is, of course, to cause trouble, to destroy the demon race's economy and people's livelihood, and to kill as many high-level cultivators as I can. Other than that, I'm also interested in some of the demon race's special heaven and earth resources. After all, the human world doesn't have everything. There's an occasional shortage. Thirdly, I was entrusted by Bingxian to find out about the Cat Ancestor's situation, to see if there's a chance. It's an unexpected gain to meet all of you. Now, the results of my first objective aren't bad. I've also received some heaven and earth resources from my target. Only the last one, I still have no clue about the Cat Ancestor. If I hadn't met all of you, I'm afraid I would have let down by Bingshuan's trust." Tunton and the others could not hide the disappointment in their eyes. From this sect master Yun's blunt words, it was clear that his goal was not to save the Cat Ancestor or the 9 Lives cat race. Everything he did was just taking advantage of the situation and doing it in passing. The so-called entrusting by Bingxian to him was just an excuse. However, this was understandable. The other party was a human after all. Was it a joke to try his best to help the demon race? May I ask what sect leader Yun's next plan is? Tunton asked in a low voice without much hope. Chapter 13-17. I'll repeat what I said just now. Our goals are the same, and our standpoints will be opposite. So let me ask you, do you have the guts to join hands with me and do something big? Yin Yang said, "My situation is obvious. The entire demon race is hunting for me now. As long as I take the risk to show myself and create some chaos in various places, the demon race will not be able to stop me. They would definitely be able to pull out the power of the monster emperor. And when the demon imperial city is empty, that will be the crucial moment for us to make our move. What you need to do is to gather as much information as you can about the monster soul prison and prepare to strike at any time. I know you're cautious, and I don't think it's wise for you to act recklessly. However, You can still use your disguise to bribe the demon race officials guarding the demon soul prison. First, buy over some of them that you can. The male elder of the cat ancestor, Cat Changbua, who had been silent all this time, smiled. You can leave this to me. After so many years, I've had the most contact with them as a leopard. I'm confident that I won't expose myself. Yin Yang's eyes shone. Cat Changbua laughed bitterly and said, There is no problem with sect leader Yun's tactics. The problem is that our cat clan is extremely weak right now. We really can't take out many resources to open up the joints. In order to maintain the livelihood of our clansmen all these years, the resources we brought out have basically been used up. Tunton said, I still have some of the original stock, but not much. It may not be enough. Yin Yang pursed his lips and said generously, I'll be fully in charge of the resources. All you have to do is to step forward and open up the connections. No matter how much energy you have to expend, as long as you can achieve your goal. What we lack now is time. Originally, we could have bought it with 10,000 Saint Origin coins, but we might as well spend 100,000, as long as we can open this road. Isn't it a problem to waste resources? Tunton said disdainfully, How many possessions do you have to manipulate them? The stock that she had mentioned earlier was the Supreme Saint's high-quality resources that she had used for her cultivation breakthrough. Its value was not small, but Yin Yang was only at the level of a Supreme Saint. He was too arrogant to take everything for himself. In terms of Saint Yuan coins, I can provide about 300 million. Yin Yang's words made all the felines whimper in response. 300 million? This was a nouveau riche. How could there be so much money? With such a large amount of wealth in his hands, which demon clan couldn't he get through? He could do whatever he wanted, okay? How could they know that these items were only Yin Yang's gains from selling some time ago? However, no matter how many Saint Yuan coins he had, he couldn't use them now, especially after he returned to the human world. Now that there was a chance to make use of the trash, he naturally wouldn't be stingy. This is all I have on hand in Saint coins. As for the treasures of heaven and earth, I can't offer much either. However, I can provide a batch of spiritual jades from the bound of universe, or what you demons call spiritual stones. Yin Yang said faintly, What? Spiritual source stones? You still have spirit source stones. Well, you're a human, so it's not surprising that you have spirit source stones. But as far as this old woman knows, spirit source stones are also divided into high, middle and low grades. To deal with ordinary demon beasts, a middle-grade spirit source stone is more than enough. However, we're trying to get through the demonic soul prison this time, but we don't have enough middle-grade spirit source stones. Tunton said in surprise. It would be best if the spiritual jades could be of use. I can provide 30,000 pieces of middle-grade spiritual jade, 10,000 pieces of upper-grade spiritual jade, and 200 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade for you to use. Right, I also have the ethereal amethyst. This thing is extremely rare in the demon clan, so you must have some in stock, right? As Yin Yang spoke, the cat's mouths grew wider and their eyes shone brighter. Saliva was already dripping from the corners of a few cats' mouths. This was a massive amount of wealth. If all these spiritual jades were exchanged for Saint Yuan coins, it would be more than 100 billion at the very least. Even a demon emperor would stumble if he were to throw so much money at once. The demon clan was barren. With so much wealth, it could completely improve the living standards of hundreds of millions of demons. Tunton's eyes shone with greed as well. Do you still have upper grade and supreme grade spiritual jade? And ethereal amethyst? Take it out for me to see. Although they used to be of noble status, they had only heard about the good stuff in the bound of universe. They had never seen it with their own eyes. That's not a problem. The corners of Yin Yang's lips curled into a smile as he said, However, let's be frank. We're working together this time, so I'll pay for all the expenses. After the deed is done, your noble clan still has to compensate me for these strategic resources. He smiled reservedly. If we fail, everyone will perish inside. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, it doesn't matter anymore. However, if we succeed, there's no reason for a human like me to bear all the expenses. Tunton said solemnly, That's for sure. As long as we succeed, the Nine Lives Cat clan will remember sect leader Yun's kindness for generations to come. Other than that, I promise on behalf of the cat ancestor that we'll repay you 100-fold for what you're doing now. Very well. Yun Yang did not hesitate and passed a spatial ring to Elder Tunton. There are 30,000 middle class, 10,000 upper class, 200 supreme class, and 8 pieces of ethereal amethyst in here. Now, let's discuss how the plan should be executed. The earlier we act, the more we'll have the upper hand. There were strange occurrences every year. There were many this year. And they were even more frequent recently. Initially, they thought that the wanted criminal, the fox demon, or the almost certain other incarnation of the resourceful celestial wolf, would definitely not appear again. However, what surprised all the higher-ups of the demon race was that the resourceful celestial wolf had suddenly appeared again. What made all the higher-ups of the demon race spit out a mouthful of blood was what he did after his reappearance. After the resourceful celestial wolf reappeared, he began to express his views and opinions without restraint, completely unrestrained. The target, the fox demon, has never been captured. This is just an act of ignorance made by the higher-ups after they sealed off all information. These arguments were not just shocking to the world. They were simply earth-shattering, and earth-shattering. Don't you understand? Do you really not understand? Think about the rewards that His Majesty the Demon King had issued back then. How generous were those rewards? If the fox demon has really been captured, how could the captured demon be unknown? What happened to the promised rewards, endless resources, and high positions? Where did they go? The official statement that the fox demon has been captured is just a despicable method used by the higher-ups to create opportunities for their disciples. Ordinary demon clans like us will never get such opportunities. This world has always been unfair. The lower classes are always treated like fools. They can fool them however they want, trample on them however they want. They can do whatever they want, and do whatever they want. That day, because His Majesty the Demon King was furious, he issued a strict order to capture the fox demon, and we all responded, gradually affecting the entire demon realm. Even if the fox demon has many tricks up her sleeves, how could she escape from the hands of countless demons? Capturing the fox demon is just around the corner. Maybe it's you, maybe it's him, or maybe it's me. But many of the higher-ups, seeing the fox demon being surrounded by the sea of demons, such a huge amount of rewards will be lost. How could they be willing? How could they not think of something? All kinds of rebellious remarks were like a flood that had opened the floodgates, surging and crashing into the minds of the demon race residents. Following which, the resourceful celestial wolf threw out his many irrefutable evidence, one by one. For such a huge incident, if the demon involved has been executed, it should be announced to the world, and the punishment should be carried out. But the higher-ups did not do so, and did not even have the intention to do so. Why is that? What's the meaning? Does everyone know that the Demon Imperial City has gathered almost all the pinnacle cultivators of the entire demon race? And so many of the higher-ups experts came, and went in a hurry, and Saint Monarch experts kept appearing and gathering. It means that something big has happened. And for such a long time, other than the matter of the fox demon, what other big matter could there be? All the demon emperors of the various races have gathered. Why? Actually, everything is very easy to explain. It's just that the fox demon was not captured at all. Because of a moment of selfishness of the higher-ups, it caused our Sea of Demons strategy to be ruined, causing the fox demon to have a chance to breathe. The cultivation of the higher-ups is indeed strong and profound, but there is a limit to their demonic power. They basically can't do anything to the fox demon that has transformed into millions. Do you understand? Do you all understand? If we want to capture the fox demon, we still have to use our Sea of Demons strategy. Only then can we make the fox demon have no place to hide anymore. At the moment when we capture the fox demon, the reward from the demon emperor is still secondary, but we will have given a solid slap to the faces of those higher-ups. Think about it. How delightful it will be at that time. One after another, specious arguments were thrown out, gradually stirring up countless heated discussions. A huge uproar was formed bit by bit. Many of the ordinary demons were filled with suspicion. This fellow is right. It really does make sense. Could it be that the fox demon was really not captured? Could it be that what he said is true? Everything is caused by the higher-ups of the demon race, in order to block our path to advancement. The Sea of Demons strategy is the fox demon's weakness. Is it really possible? Just when everyone was half believing and half doubting, the fox demon suddenly appeared, and was discovered in a very strange and subtle way. Recently, a certain demon had formed a habit of asking a certain demon, habitually asking a certain demon next to him. A certain demon gave an irrelevant answer, immediately being suspected, questioned, and attacked. Unexpectedly, a certain demon was not a certain demon, but the fox demon that had become the topic of conversation of the people, a demon, was suddenly discovered. A huge battle ensued. In the end, although the fox demon was lucky to escape, she was seriously injured. This battle, it was unknown whether it was a coincidence or not, accidental or inevitable. In short, it was a huge explosion. The duration was short, but it shook the hearts of the demons. Originally, following the disappearance of the resourceful star wolf, the higher-ups of the demon race thought that he would definitely not appear again like the fox demon, and the main forces of the demon race were all concentrated within the demon imperial city, which unknowingly caused the surveillance of certain areas to be lacking. And it was under such circumstances that the demonic fox was unintentionally discovered. Even if the higher-ups knew that regardless of whether it was the fox demon or the resourceful star wolf, they were basically the same person, the ordinary demons were completely unaware, especially when the person directly involved was a Saint Emperor demon. Ever since the question and answer using the secret language became popular among the demon race, his question and answer using the secret language had become a habit. To be honest, he had asked many questions before, but he had never really asked about the fox demon. But this time, under broad daylight, in front of everyone's eyes, he saw through the true identity of the fox demon, who knew how many ordinary demons had seen it from afar. It was truly popular among the demons, causing them to reflect, and causing them to have wild thoughts. So it wasn't that the resourceful star wolf's secret language tactic wasn't effective, it was just that they hadn't asked him yet. As long as they met, no matter how strong and cunning that fox demon was, wouldn't he still fall under the siege of the Sea of Demons? Now that everyone had seen it, that fox demon was continuously injured, spitting out blood and escaping. As long as he was questioned again and found again, it would be a piece of cake. This was obviously the effective method of the resourceful star wolf of the Yao family. If he had executed it earlier, perhaps the fox demon would have been captured long ago. With that in mind, instantly, the tens of thousands of demons surged. The higher-ups are unfair, blocking our path of advancement. We are weak, but we are also part of the demon race. I hope that the higher-ups can give us an explanation. The fox demon is still here. Why do they have to lie to the masses? This is a blatant suppression of us, the grassroots. Not letting us have the chance to rise. This is too infuriating. This is infuriating. The demon emperor flew into a rage. Trash. Useless trash. That fox demon has already appeared, and was severely injured, but you guys still let him escape. Trash. Don't you know how to speak when you capture him? Are all of you mute? Just say a few words. This is just an impersonation. Isn't it fine if you and that resourceful star wolf all have ulterior motives? Are all of you brainless, or is there mold growing in your brains? The demon emperor was panting in anger. What if the fox demon could be captured so easily? Why would I not set up the heavenly ceiling formation? This time, he only made his move after planning. The so-called severe injuries were just a facade. He must have already set up a backup plan. It would be strange if he could capture him. The Phoenix Emperor laughed bitterly as he explained. He laughed bitterly and said, I have a report here. Do you want to listen to it? The Demon Emperor asked cautiously, What report? The Phoenix Emperor coughed and said, Ever since you issued the imperial order to capture the fox demon, The feedback from the various places. Currently, the number of demons killed each other has already reached 3 million. 7,300,000. This was a shocking and enormous figure. I'm starving, I'm on a diet, I didn't eat lunch. GT. You're tuning in to the Lee May's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.